for Jonathan Taylor. There he goes again. 50, 40, down the far sideline. He might do it again. 10, 5, touchdown. INDY.
Eastern Conference Championship has been captured by the Indiana Pacers.
Alex Palou wins the 109th Indianapolis 500.
This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
Happy Friday, everybody. And James, I'm not going to lie. It's Vacation Friday. I started vacation about 6 o'clock this morning. You're going to have to carry the show today.
Look, what time did you get up this morning?
About 5.
Too early.
5:05.
Too early. But
I wish
vacation
I didn't.
is
I
near.
just wake up. You know how that goes.
Yes, vacation is near.
You watch, you'll see. As you
But we
do
still
this
have
longer,
work to do. We have things to recap.
Yeah, the longer and longer you do this, Mark will tell you, you'll just start waking up at a certain time, won't you? Mark, doesn't matter. Saturday, Sunday, whatever.
Yeah, I'm always like, I can sleep in. And then
Yeah.
usually the girls wake up and it's like 7:05. I'm like, well, that was fun.
So enjoy it while you can. Enjoy it while you can, JB.
I will. I
All right.
will.
Yeah, Kevin Bowen, last day on vacation. I start vacation on Monday. And James, you're going to be here through all of it. And then we'll get you all out at camp coming up on the 22nd. And it'll be football season. Can you believe that football season is almost here? And we'll talk about that as we get closer and closer. But I had a little itch that got scratched last night, about 5 o'clock. I don't know about you, but it was nice to see some, I don't know if you call it meaningful, but at least Pacers basketball last night.
Yeah, and it was true Pacers fashion. Down late in the fourth quarter. Game should be over. Dramatic comeback for the win. So shout out to Ray J. Dennis. Johnny Furphy went down early. I was like, oh my gosh, what just happened? But he should be fine. And then I thought that Quentin Jackson was amazing as well. Taylor Peter looked pretty good. So overall, I was okay with what I saw from the Pacers.
Yeah, wasn't a bad thing last night, other than Johnny Furphy taking an elbow to the head early on and not being able to play much after that.
Yeah, that was tough.
I wasn't thrilled with that. I hope he's going to be okay. I haven't heard anything about concussion or anything. Have you?
No, he's fine. They said that, I believe, on the broadcast he'd be fine.
Yeah, well, they always say that, and then you see something later on the next day, and you're like, oh, maybe it's
Well, no,
worse than
they
we
have to
thought.
report something that's a little more factual. But, yes, he's fine. They just didn't want to risk it in Summer League, which makes sense. I mean, with every player in Summer League, that's my only fear. Not a fear, really. It's my only annoyance is that if you have a little bit of something, you're automatically shut down no matter what it is. It could be like a hangnail. But nevertheless, the Pacers, the resilient Pacers, I should add, do what they always do, which is make a team sweat down the stretch, show more poise, and then win in dramatic fashion. So I enjoyed that game a whole lot, and I thought that, again, Quentin Jackson looked amazing. I can watch that guy hoop all day. Ray J. Dennis had a big game as well. It was so funny watching him in Summer League because I'm like, man, a couple weeks ago, I was with him up in Illinois at this big high school basketball tournament, and I don't think many people even knew who he was. And I was thinking to myself, with the way he played yesterday, he's taken a step forward in his NBA career, obviously. But, going back to the high school tournament, I was thinking, man, what if you drop Ray J. Dennis into one of these games and the kids have no idea who he is? Because he has no facial hair, really. So I was like, he probably scored like 50 or something like that.
Just drop him off at a local Y and let him go.
I always think that. Like, what if you drop TJ McConnell into like a high school basketball game varsity? How many points is he scoring? So, again, getting back to the point of the actual conversation, the Pacers looked pretty good yesterday, and then we'll see if the Fever in a more serious and important game can keep it rolling tonight.
Yeah, and it was great Summer League basketball. You saw some standout performances. You talked about Quentin Jackson. Ray J. Dennis was terrific. Enrique Freeman was hitting clutch stuff down the stretch, which was a lot of fun to watch. And, yeah, Johnny Furphy got an elbow to the head early on, and they were taking no chances with that. But for Summer League basketball, I thought it was a pretty entertaining game, especially the last 2.5 minutes of the game.
That is true Pacers basketball. Stressful. You probably should have made it easier on yourself, but they're relentless, and I think that's the overall thing. We did see a little bit of Cam Jones. I know he had the hamstring going into the game, but he played 20 minutes, 5 points, 3 assists, and so we'll see what the rest of the schedule brings for them.
Yeah, we'll find out exactly what's going on there. I was reminded that we are smack dab in the middle, not that I'd forgotten, of Fever basketball season at the WNBA All-Star Game is not too far around the corner because I was at a stoplight this morning downtown. I looked over the Marriott, and there's 30-story tall Caitlin Clark at the height of a jump shot right there. And then I turned left onto was it Washington? Maybe it's one south of Washington. You come through and you see that crosswalk over the street, and there's all the All-Stars and the young players there. And it's coming. It's been here, and they've been filling that arena up night after night after night. It's been a lot of fun so far. Now,
Have you noticed
Have
you noticed they did the street signs too? Are team names? Have you noticed that?
I have not.
seen that.
I did not notice that.
When did that happen?
I don't know. I noticed it the other day, but I saw like Meridian is now like New York Street. I'm like, isn't there an actual New York Street here? Like that's gonna be, but it's a New York Liberty sign, and then there's a Dallas Wings sign, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like they did that with the Royal Rumble. They did with like all the big events
all the time.
Yeah, they're doing that. And
I like
that
the
a lot.
NBA Finals touch where they had all the different Siakam Street and Halliburton Street and different things like that.
Yeah,
so,
I do like when the big events come to town and that they've done that, whether it's the Indy 500, Royal Rumble, whatever, they're doing that. But yeah, I've noticed. So look around, see what you can find. I don't know where the Fever one is at yet. I haven't found that one, but it's out there somewhere, I assume.
Well, and Fever get going again this weekend, and they need to. We'll hear about this a little bit later on. We'll talk about it, but they realize that they haven't been playing consistently great basketball. They've looked unbelievable at times in the last week and a half, and they've looked shaky
unbelievably
at
bad
times.
in other times. Yeah, so
Yeah.
we'll certainly get into that. I think Sophie Cunningham had some choice words after practice, not like curse words, but just some very pointed comments, and I thought that resonated with the rest of the team. And then on top of that, kind of buried the lead here a little bit. Miles Turner finally says his goodbye. No audio on that. It was just a written statement posted to his Instagram, where we will share bits and pieces of that throughout the show and react to it accordingly. But I thought that Miles shared a pretty heartfelt message, if I do say so myself.
I think it was kind of a different version of what I now consider the goodbye letter in the Players Tribune not too long ago. Was it the Players Tribune?
I'm on the opposite side of that. I think we're completely on the opposite ends of the spectrum, which is fine, but I cannot foresee that, mainly because of everything that happened.
I think he knew that there was a chance that he'd be leaving. Let's put it that way.
Well, yeah, there's always a chance.
Yeah. So anyway, I love Miles. Now, I'm not saying anything bad against him. I just think you put it all together and you start to see where he was in his headspace and stuff like that. And I almost wonder, and maybe this is unfair, you tell me, was the thought that big changes were coming for him, was that a distraction for him in the NBA? I don't know.
No,
OKC
is very good at defense. That's what that was.
No, I get it. But it's a fair question to ask.
No, again, we'll be opposite on that one. I don't think
you
so.
You don't think that's a fair question to ask?
I don't think that I agree with the premise of the question. No, I would disagree there. But again, like that's good sports morning radio. I don't agree. No.
All right, that sounds good. That at least we don't agree on everything. I'm fine with that. I just think it is a fair question to ask, and we can talk about that as the day goes along as well. But really, for quote unquote nothing going on, I thought yesterday was a pretty full day in the middle of summer for everything that's going on around here in Indy.
Yeah, I'll take it. And then we had a chance to not only catch up with Sophie Cunningham at Fever practice, it was also basically, I believe, the last practice, more or less weekday practice, before the All-Star break, at home, that is. And there were a ton of media at practice yesterday when I stopped by, and I was thinking, wow, I'm only here to do one or two little things. And I saw Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell, the three All-Stars for the Fever, do about 3 different one-on-ones with local TV stations. And then they spoke to us as well. And I was just thinking to myself, wow, like that is a lot of media burden. And I guess that is what happens when, a few years ago, you were one of the bottom teams in the league. And even this year, despite being 9-10, you're still such popular demand and a huge, huge following. But as Sophie Cunningham said, as Stephanie White said, as Kelsey Mitchell said, they want to make sure that they're playing good basketball going into the All-Star break.
All right, so we'll look forward to talking about that as well. Anything else that struck you over the last 24 hours? I don't even want to talk a lot about the Miles Turner exit and on his way to Milwaukee. And I think, first of all, the heartfelt written statement is always good because I think you can say things a little more emotionally or correctly than you would if you're just standing up there in front of a microphone. But at some point, he will have to speak to the Milwaukee media and be introduced up there. And it'll be interesting to see what those questions sound like just in real time off the top of his head.
Yeah, part of me wants to just pull up and ask him, did you want to leave? Be honest. Cut through all the other emotions. Did you want to leave? So that is certainly a question I am waiting to hear from him. Obviously, like you said, Jeff, not in letter form, but in verbal form. But on top of that, I think we can also talk about Andrew Nembhard's comments about Miles leaving. I believe this is the first on-camera interview I've seen of a teammate, former teammate now, weigh in on the decision.
All right, so we got a lot to talk about today. I'm looking forward to that, and it is Friday, and I know I'm not the only one. There are a lot of folks getting ready to pack up the old family trucks or get on an airplane and go take off for a while. So We're doing all this show for all you guys that got to work hard, guys and gals that got to work hard today, putting in the hours, and also for the folks that are getting some much-deserved rest and time off. It's the Fan Morning Show. Mark Dykton, James Boyd, I'm Jeff Rickard. Kevin Bowen is already on his vacation, and we'll talk about it all next as we continue at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
7-5 The Fan.
Good Friday morning to you, along with James Boyd. I'm Jeff Rickard, Mark Dykton. It's the Fan Morning Show. It is time to let you know everything that's going on in the world of sports. Indiana Pacers doing Indiana Pacers things, James, coming from behind in the last 2.5 minutes of the game last night to once again beat the Cleveland Cavaliers in unlikely fashion. What did you see last night at Summer League in Las Vegas?
I thought that it was the typical resilience from the Pacers. Shout out to Taylor Peter, who I thought played really well in his quote-unquote NBA debut. Ray J. Dennis, Quentin Jackson also played outstanding Pacers basketball.
They trailed by as many as 16 in this game. They come from behind and win it by 116-115. Some big free throws down the stretch from the guys. Quentin Jackson had 24 points. Enrique Freeman, 19.7 boards, 3 assists. And Ray J. Dennis, I left to the end, 26 points, 9 assists. He might be earning himself a spot on the roster next year. Who knows?
Yeah,
There's
we'll see.
It's such a
they got so many guards that are very good. So I guess that's a good problem to have if you're the Pacers.
All right, so they will play a couple more games at Summer League down in Las Vegas. We'll tell you more about that as the day goes along. Also, we can tell you that there was a lot said and written from the Pacers, especially Miles Turner yesterday.
Yeah, he finally said his goodbye via Instagram, and so there were a lot of bits and pieces throughout it that we can parse through and probably overanalyze to a degree, but it was good to hear his perspective on leaving Indiana and joining a new franchise.
Yeah, and look, you read that and you hear what Miles said. I don't think anybody should be mad at Miles when the Bucks come back to town. The guy finally made a decision that's best for him and his family, and he gave 10 years of his life here, and I think he always played as hard as he could, and I wasn't implying a minute ago when I was asking that question. I was just asking a thoughtful, philosophical question, but I have no space in my heart for any unhappiness with Miles Turner. I just don't.
Yeah, I mean, it's business to me, and at the end of the day, you can't discredit the 10 years he put in because of the decision he made, 2 weeks ago now? So it is what it is. They have to move on, both teams, that is. But I did appreciate him sharing his perspective. And in this letter, he did share a lot about how not only did the Pacers change him as a player, but as a man.
Yep. All right, let's check in on the Indiana Fever. They will play tonight, 7:30 p.m. start time against the Atlanta Dream. Look, they're a game under 500. You heard Sophie Cunningham, and we'll listen to some of that audio in a little bit here, talk about it. Hey, time is running short now. It's not like they're at the end of the season, but they need to get this thing rolling and start motoring ahead and start rising up the rankings. They are struggling just a game under 500 right now and so inconsistent so far.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. It's about time somebody kind of came out flatly and said we're running out of time, and this isn't early in the season. And I know that Stephanie White kind of hammered the same things, and she was even saying yesterday that, they can't be at this point in the season where they have to be reteaching some of their, building points or building blocks. And I was thinking, reteaching at this point in the year. I understand you've had lineup changes, but reteaching things at this point, that's a bit concerning to me. But they have a big game tonight, a hard game tonight, I believe, with the Atlanta Dream coming to town. Atlanta is currently 4th in the WNBA standings. They're 12-7, led by MVP candidate Alicia Gray and former number 1 pick Ryan Howard. And
it's a team that has given the Fever some trouble already earlier this year. They've done okay against them, but they also lost a game to them. So we'll keep an eye on that. That comes your way later on tonight. Major League Baseball yesterday, stellar pitching performance from all the Reds. All of them, James. 6-0 shutout of the Miami Marlins yesterday. Gotta love the way that they've been playing lately. They're hanging in there. The Cubs also very impressive yesterday. Did you spend any of your time yesterday watching the Cubs win 8-1 against the Brewers?
I believe on these airwaves.
I'm sorry, Twins.
I believe on these airwaves I guaranteed a victory, and sure enough, 8-1 rout of the Twins. Avoided the sweep. Now a big one against the Yankees before the All-Star break.
St. Louis Cardinals defeated the imploding Washington Nationals by a score of 8-1. Locally, Indianapolis won last night. They got a shutout against the Gwinnett Stripers. They've won 4 games in a row, have the Indians. And you got another chance to see them at Victory Field tonight at 7:05, JB. Let's go get it. I like that. All right, IndyCar coming up again later on this weekend. Iowa is where they're headed, Mark. And I know that we've heard a little bit about that on Trackside here earlier this week. And just it's been a fun season after Alex Palou just dominated the first 5 races and won the 500. He's gotten back on the podium once or twice, but they're starting to spread the wins around, and Scott Dixon looking like Scott Dixon again. So,
yeah, I think Alex Palou's like, you know what? I can't win all these races. Let's let everyone else have a little fun.
A little parity is good.
So that'll be coming up on the 13, the Farm the 13th, I should say, farm to finish 275, powered by Suckup. So there you go. Looking forward to that. Anything else you want to throw in right now, JB, that things have taken place over the last 24 hours?
Superman got released.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I went to see Superman yesterday, and it was pretty good. It was a nice comic book movie, so I would encourage anybody out there to go check it out. Maybe a little much for if you got like little kids, under the age of probably like 10, but for adults, it's a very wholesome movie.
Yeah, Mark
ready to go.
Mark will drag his kids along just so he can go watch. That's
I
how
do
that
want to see
works,
it. That trailer played before Jurassic World, and I said out loud, I want to see that. And then my daughter's like, who is that? Batman? I'm like, no, we need to get some education in this household.
That's such a kid question.
Looks like one other thing in the NFL, too. Looks like he's going to escape any kind of serious injury, but more fireworks problems over the last week. We saw the Chargers' new running back, Najee Harris, formerly of the Pittsburgh Steelers, had a little bit of an issue with an eye with the fireworks, but it looks like it's going to be okay, James. So there's good news there.
Yeah, sounds like from the report, I believe, originally from the San Francisco Chronicle, he has a superficial injury to his eye, which in other words means it won't be like a major thing. But someone who was involved in the fireworks with him, I believe, lost some fingers, according to the San Francisco Chronicle.
And we hear about it all the time, and yet people keep going up and lighting their own fireworks, maybe not so well trained on how those things work all the time, James.
Every year, I'm just like, be safe, man. There's always somebody who enters that weekend and comes back with less fingers than they had. So just tough.
All right. We have a lot to talk about today, including some great new sound released from that upcoming podcast from Chris Long with Rick Carlisle, talking a little bit more about what's next for the Indiana Pacers now that Tyrese Halliburton and Miles Turner won't be here next year. So lots to do today. It's a Friday. We're looking forward to it. We'll open up the phone lines, kind of an open line Friday, 239-1070. It's all coming your way next. It's the Fan Morning Show at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
It's Friday. It's that Friday. We're looking forward to it, and I'm just cruising through the last 2.5 hours here, but there's no place I'd rather be right now, James, than hanging out with you and Mark in the studio
the lies.
as I get ready to go.
The lies.
No, because I'll tell you this. The last couple of days have been bittersweet for me, and I'll tell you why. Because my kids are already with my wife ahead of me over there. So me and the dog have had like the house to ourselves. So that's been good. But now I'm ready to go see my family, and I'm ready to go on vacation, too.
Why didn't you go with them?
Huh? Well, first of all, my wife had to work out there a little bit. So she was
Sorry, sons. Doesn't matter if your mom had to work, and I probably could have came with you.
No, they're at camps. They're at camps right now, but she happens to be in close proximity to them. So that's just how that works right there. And then I'll fly out this weekend, and it'll be glorious. I don't even fly out until Sunday, so I actually have 2 days. I was telling this to Mark before we started the show. I have 2 days to literally just do whatever I want. I don't have to work. I don't have to do anything.
Like Tom Cruise in Risky Business, run around in your underwear in your house.
Nah, I think if we cut the camera to Jeff, it will be him sleeping those 2 days.
But again,
you will not
wish,
convince me on these airwaves that you would much rather be here with us than overseas with your family.
Well,
I know you like us, and I like you guys, but if you told me I could be in Europe right now with my mom, dad, and my sister, I would be in Europe.
There are worse things to do, though, than talk about the sports that we love, the players we love, the teams
that is
we
true.
love.
No, I haven't worked very much in my life. I say worked very loosely.
I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm still very cognizant that we are very lucky and very blessed to be able to do the things that we do. And I'm excited for the show moving forward and everything else. But, yeah, it'll be a nice catch your breath kind of week or two for me, so I'm looking forward to that. But let's get back to the Pacers because that's what people are tuning in to hear about. More sound from Rick Carlisle was released yesterday from an upcoming podcast by Chris Long, the former NFL player. We heard him talking a little bit about Miles Turner and his exit yesterday when we played it. But there was more released on what comes next now for the Indiana Pacers.
Yes, this was the Green Light podcast. Mark, if you have that audio queued up, we will share now Rick Carlisle's perspective on how they will approach the 2025-26 season without Miles Turner on the team and obviously without Tyrese Halliburton available because of the Achilles tear.
The trade Sabonis for Halliburton and Hield, really restarted things. Then we started building around those guys and guys like Nesmith and some good drafts and Miles Turner and TJ McConnell fit in. And then, the acquisition of Siakam last year really elevated us to a different level. And so, we've taken a situation that wasn't great and, we've helped convert it into a great situation. And we have some injury stuff to overcome. We lost Miles Turner to free agency, but we're going to get the wheels on the wagon there. We just traded for Jay Huff, another UVA guy who can really shoot it, and he's going to be part of a center by committee deal, which I've done before. And all this is doable. And so next year, without Tyrese, gives Nembhard a chance to play more of his pure position at point. We develop somebody else at the 2 position, and then a year from now, when Tyrese is coming back into the fold, the hope is that we can go on another run.
Couple of questions there. When he says we develop somebody at the 2 position, does that mean he didn't mention Benedict Mathurin by name, did he?
I did notice that too, and I was like, man, am I reading too much into this? But I think in my mind, I interpreted that as Ben has to earn this. He has to prove himself. Andrew Nembhard is proven to be trustworthy in big situations, and I don't think that is some hot take because he started so many games for this team, especially in the playoffs. But I took that as, Benedict, you better be ready to perform. And if you do not, this spot isn't just going to be given to you because you are the number 6 pick from a few years ago.
Here's the other thing. I look at what the Pacers did this past year, and clearly we have a star in ascension in Tyrese Halliburton, and he's already reached that to some extent, right? Yeah. We're fine, and when he comes back, we're going to welcome him back, and I don't think his game changes a ton coming off an Achilles injury. I think he's going to be just fine. He's going to be Tyrese Halliburton again. But this year, when you talk about the trio, and we have to wait and see what Benedict Mathurin develops into, I'm bullish on that. But Nembhard, Nesmith, Mathurin, for minutes at a time, that could be a problem for a lot of teams in the NBA.
Yeah, it could be, for sure. The hard part is just figuring out who can excel and sustain with an increased role. Because I think when people look at the players that are on the Pacers, they're like, oh, man, Andrew Nembhard is really, really good, which I don't disagree. But can he be, quote unquote, better with a bigger role? Because sometimes you're as good as your role will allow you to be. And there's a reason why, for example, TJ McConnell only plays a certain amount of minutes every game. Mm-hmm. If he were, and this isn't a shot at him at all, this is just honest basketball talk. If he were a better player, he would play more. He would start. He would, be all-star, those types of things. And everybody can't be that player. So I just wonder how certain players will respond to having different responsibilities, increased responsibilities, and if you can still sustain a certain level of play within that. And so that to me is enticing because when you look at Andrew Nembhard, every time you've given him more, he has responded. Aaron Nesmith the same way. Benedict Mathurin, I think, has responded more positively than negatively, in my opinion, but there still is, when you look at that trio of players, there's more fluctuation between him than probably any other player we're talking about in the rotation right now as far as guard play. So that, to me, is a big, big key for Benedict Mathurin is how engaged can you be, how consistent can you be, and how reliable can you be? Because as we've seen, Rick Carlisle really values that, and they're not going to just, throw you the ball and say, hey, it's your world. That's not how they play. Now, I still think even without Tyrese running the show, they will not play that brand of basketball.
Well, we heard Kevin Pritchard talking about that when you and I were over at the practice facility the other day. There is this culture that he says the players themselves really built about no one player is bigger than the team, and their success comes by always making that extra pass that puts somebody else in a better position, by always helping each other out on defense. That's a culture he said they created for themselves. And what will be interesting to see is now that Andrew Nembhard's role is going to be a little bit different. Now that I don't see a big difference for Nesmith's role. I think that'll pretty much continue to be what it is. But as guys have to fill in spots here and pick up for over here, what do their games become as their roles start to change? To your original point about Benedict Mathurin, how much can he accept on his play? Because we see this, I've seen this, and you've seen it, Mark, a million times, as forever baseball fans from the time I was little. You always see these great pinch hitters that will come up just fresh off the bench in the 8th inning, and they end up hitting 315 as a pinch hitter all year long. Now, they only get 75 at-bats maybe throughout the course of the year, and you're like, man, I wonder why that guy doesn't get more run. Well, for whatever reason, they excel in those pressure spots, but you throw them into the regular lineup because somebody gets hurt. The next thing you know, you're a little bit of your liability on defense. Your 315 pinch hit average goes down to 275 because every day is just different from the role that you play. That happens in basketball. It happens in every sport all the time. We see it with running backs in the NFL all the time. Some guys are great with 8 touches a game. You put them into that 22 touch a game area, and not so great.
Yep.
So it remains to be seen as the roles change and roles for individual players expand, how they accept that and how they go. So, yeah, that's going to be fascinating to watch.
I will say, though, keeping with the Pacers conversation, but pivoting a bit, looking at the Miles Turner letter, I thought that it was so Indianapolis and Indiana coded with the potholes reference, the reference to Long's Bakery.
On the south side, not the one over there by the Speedway. It was the south side Long's Bakery.
And which also,
I like them both.
I think the south side one is not bad.
I've never been to the south side one.
I went there after I played at Southport High School with JMV one day, and it's nice. I mean, I feel like am I just a simple man because it's very hard to mess up donuts.
We're all.
So when
Same
people,
with my thoughts on pizza as well.
Yeah, when people tell me, like, they're like, oh, that location is not as good as this one, and I'm like, I cannot tell. I just know if it's, awfully bad or good, and to me, it's very good. So I thought that was funny, him talking about walking down the street in Fountain Square, and I'm like, yeah, Miles, I don't think you can do that as perhaps as often as you would like because you are Miles Turner, you're 7 feet. You're kind
can't
of tall.
really hide. Yeah.
Exactly. But one of the phrases that stood out to me, at least, in his letter was the fact that he mentioned not taking the easy way out. And so I will read to you just a bit of what he said in that. And he said, I never took the easy way out. I took the criticism on the chin, bit my tongue to complain, and just kept my head down and grinded through it all. In the end, it was all so worth it. Then he gets into how he came here when he was early 20s, leaving here, getting closer to 30, and just how, unique all of his experiences were in the city, both as a player and as a man. So the part about not taking the easy way out seems to have struck a nerve with the fan base.
Well, they're always going to look at that as, you took the – you and I think are aligned, and I don't know how you are, Mark. The man probably is getting $10 to $15 million or more total than he would have had he stayed here. He's put in a decade here. I think he's been tremendous. I think he's always given everything that he has to give. Doesn't mean it always shows up the way we want it to in the box score, like at the very end of the NBA Finals. But the man was offered a lot more money for the final few years of his NBA career and gets to play with one of the top 5 players on the planet, if not one of the top 3 players on the planet. I get it. Would I have liked him to stay here? We all would have liked him to stay here. Well, I don't know. You listen to JMV show, there's a lot of discussion about people who like Miles and don't like Miles.
Some of the fan base,
But I wouldn't mind having him around for a little while longer. But sometimes in sports, these things just happen.
You put in a decade, and, I think that's a lot more than a lot of other NBA players put in his city. So you got a decade. Now you got a bag full of cash and get to play with the top 5 player. Who wouldn't do that?
And that's my hot take in this matter. People talk about the easy way out, and even Miles referencing it here. Sometimes the easy way is the best way, and it's the smart way. It is very easy to sit across from a table and say, hey, this team's going to pay me $107 million, $108 million to play basketball, and I don't have to go back and match or ask them to increase their offer. Like, they came to me correctly. They wanted me, and so I'm going to take the easy decision of, hey, here's a big bag of money, like you said, Mark, to go play with a future Hall of Famer. And I also think that, sometimes in sports, and I think fan bases, and I would even say media, like the talking heads, like us included, sometimes we get a little too caught up into the loyalty aspect of sports because we see players get cut every day, traded all the time, and we say it's just a business. But then when they leave of their own volition, we want to have hard feelings. And in my opinion, I think that when you look at your finite career as an athlete, you only have so much time to make so much money. And as much as I love loyalty and legacy, you can't put it in the bank. So his legacy is what it is. He's still one of the greatest players to ever play here. That's without question. But sometimes that money, it looks good, especially when you're going in a situation where you still think you can win. Like, I don't think he took this money. This isn't, in my opinion, oh my gosh, Miles Turner took $108 million to go play for Charlotte and, be terrible for the last 4 years of it. He's going somewhere to still compete. Mm-hmm. Now, will they be as good as the Pacers were last year? I do not think that. I don't think they're a finals team. I don't think they're going to win the East. However, it's still a competitive group. And in your mind, you feel like you can do something special with the guy who we've praised often on this show, in Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, and I think you look at the Milwaukee Bucks, and we were talking about during the break in the Eastern Conference, like who owns this, right? And the reason I brought it up is someone asked Giannis yesterday if he'd ever be interested in going to New York, and he said, a lot of people want to get me to New York, but nah. So we started thinking, you said, yeah, but the Knicks might have a chance to go to the NBA Finals next year. Look, they do. They got a lot of guys coming back.
Yeah, I think they do.
They play well.
They might be my favorite,
and
actually.
I said, Cleveland, too, is going to be right there. They're not going anywhere. But I also think that when you have a player like Giannis Antetokounmpo, you always have a chance. I mean, that's how good he is. You have a chance.
And that's why you make the crazy moves they did, because I'm still fascinated by that. Like, that is truly an amazing, ingenious or idiotic move to waive and stretch Lillard, bring in Miles Turner, and basically tell Giannis, we will do anything to keep you. And I wonder how much that stock that buys. I know that Giannis was recently appeared on, like, who's the guy? I Show Speed. He's a streamer, a YouTube streamer. And for the older crowd out there, he's basically a guy that gets paid to put us up on video every day. That's what the guy, his nickname is Speed, goes by. And Giannis was on his show, I believe it might have been in the last couple of days. And he was asking him, hey, what about, your future? And he was like, I would probably like to be in Milwaukee. And the probably part obviously got picked up everywhere, and everyone's, dying on that hill. But, things change. But it was good to hear at least a little bit from Giannis if you're a Bucks fan, to be like, okay, maybe I can breathe a little bit easier, because when you're a player of that stature, it's almost stressful. It might be more stressful when you do have them versus when you don't have that player, because they put so much pressure on you to always try to build a winner around them. And if that winner isn't there, they can force their hand. And who's going to tell Giannis, to buy in more? I mean, the guy's giving you a championship. He's giving you everything for the last 10 years plus.
Yeah. Here's the one thing I will say on Miles, too, and we'll talk about it today, and then we'll probably move on because I think we addressed the statement that Miles made. It's the first time he's spoken out since he made the move to go join Milwaukee, and we'll talk about it today, and we'll talk about what it means moving forward. But after today, he's a Milwaukee Buck. And so not my, I this file that I have, Mark. After today, Miles Turner will be filed in what folder?
The not my problem one.
It'll be my problem 4 times a year, and other than that, that's it. Right?
Yeah, for sure. And
doesn't mean I don't wish him well. I just don't wish him well against the Pacers.
Which, I mean, that's a fair assessment for a lot of people in this city, but I just want to hear from him. I know we talked about, like you said, Jeff, earlier in the show, you can have these instances where you, in a way, you get a chance to say all you want to say very purely and very calculated, but I do want to just put him on the spot a few times and ask some questions that maybe you don't have the answers to right away. Because when I'm a writer, as a writer, you think everything out, where the commas go, where the periods go. Did I phrase this right? I want to stick a mic in front of you and say, what were you really thinking, and kind of put you under that fire. And I think that's why we got some of the candidness we got from Kevin Pritchard. You don't get some of those answers, some of those responses, if you don't have Bob Kravitz, Dustin DePierre, Tony East, and others, kind of pressing him on some of the bigger issues with the team.
Yeah, and so we'll talk about Miles today. Speaking of the center position, though, from the Pacers' perspective, we know that they went and got Jay Cuff. We know that they've got a bunch of players coming around and coming back behind him, some coming off injuries, some we're taking a look at. But how many centers do you have room for on this team? 3? When it's all said and done at the end of the day? And which 3 will those be?
That is a good question. If I had to guess right now, I'll probably go Jay Huff, obviously, because they traded for him. James Wiseman, Isaiah Jackson would be my top 3 centers. And I don't know how Tony Bradley will fit into that rotation, but I still think they want to take some swings on the younger guys, Isaiah and James, that is, to kind of see.
Are those two-way contracts, do you think?
No. I know for a fact that neither one is a two-way contract.
Right.
Isaiah's is in a qualifying offer. Long story short, it's like a 1-year deal for $6.4 million per sources. And then
that's not bad work if you can get it either.
Yeah, and then James Wiseman is like a 2-year deal with a team option for the second year, and it's partially guaranteed. But these are standard NBA contracts.
Yeah. So it's center by committee. And Jay Cuff was the first guy that he mentioned. I'd imagine he'd get the bulk of the minutes. I don't know if he's going to get 30 minutes a night, but I could see him getting 24, 26 minutes a night, right? Something like that?
Yeah, for sure. And again, that's what Kevin Pritchard was saying. We'll have to see who rises to the top. And if anything, it'll be interesting this upcoming season for that matter. Like who rises, who, like we talked about earlier in the show, is able to increase their workload and still maintain a certain level of play that we know them to play at. And so I think those are things that will be very fascinating to kind of see unfold in front of us, especially because you just don't know. Like we think we know. And I feel very certain about Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Nesmith, others, but I don't know with Benedict Mathurin, like what he'll look like with a bigger role and how he embraced that, especially when they need his scoring punch. Like they're going to need somebody else to create shots because Tyrese Halliburton isn't out there. And so how does he embrace that role? Not only for himself, because the guy can score and get downhill with the best of them, but can he become even a little bit better of a playmaker, things of that nature?
Yeah, and we talked about roles and how all of the Pacers really accepted and thrived in their individual roles this past year, and some of those roles will change and be tweaked a little bit this year. But I want to go back to TJ McConnell, which we were talking about. That is the guy who is the epitome of, I have a role. I know exactly what my role is.
Yep.
That's the role I'm going to play, and I'm going to play that role better than anybody else in the world plays that role. I love that energy that he gives. He knows what he's supposed to do. He knows what he needs to do. To your point, he's not a guy that you want to put in an extended minutes over a long period of time, for 15 or 20 games. But you bring that dude off the bench in key spots, he's going to carry your bench play, man. He will give it up on both ends of the floor. He's got obvious physical limitations. He's got obvious, NBA limitations. But what he does extremely well. And I think anybody in the NBA would want a TJ McConnell on their team.
Absolutely. And honestly, that's a good way to segue into our conversation regarding the Fever, because I think that TJ McConnell plays hard every single day of his life. I think he wakes up and he's already like guarding his bed because that's just what he does. Now
he's going with his buddies to Long's Bakery, but hey, he's boxing out right there at the beginning of the line, man.
Because the Fever do not have or have not shown that same level of consistent intensity. And I thought that Sophie Cunningham was, Mark, if you have that audio, let's get ready to play that one. I think she really hit it on the head when she was talking yesterday about, grit, attention, and things like that, because this team needs that. And then here's what Sophie had to say about playing with a sense of urgency.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's just making sure our energy is where it needs to be. It's making sure our focus is where it needs to be. I think we're all a little bit exhausted, but everyone is. We have a lot of games this season. And that's part of being a pro. And what a blessing that we get to dribble in orange basketball for a living. And so sometimes it's taking a step back and having a better perspective and being grateful for it. But I think tomorrow night you're going to see a lot of fight. We're starting to get a little bit pissed off, and that's, I think, what we need. We need a fire under our butts. And we should have had yesterday. We have to give credit to them. They're a great team, the Valkyries, but it's not to our standard. And so we need to, we're running out of time, to be honest. And I think that it's going to light a fire under our butts. And so hopefully you'll see kind of that energy shift tomorrow.
I like that, because it sounds like she's starting to get a sense of urgency. Will everybody else get the sense of urgency? And more than that, will they start to come together as a team? Now that Caitlin Clark's starting to get healthy, she's going to be there all the time. Ari McDonald is there. I think it's going to take a minute for those two to kind of figure out how they play together and also off one another. There's still a lot for this team to figure out. So, do I wish they were a lot farther along in the standings? Absolutely. Caitlin Clark has missed, 10 of the 19 games right now? And it's people think it's just easy. You just slot right back in. But there were some other changes that took place for that Fever team, and they've got to figure themselves and figure out how they do things. And, we talked earlier about a quote that somebody had about kind of relearning the offense again in some of the plays and things like that. And I don't know that it's people necessarily forgot them, but you have to learn how to run that offense with each other sometimes. That's the thing that needs to change.
For sure. And I think that Sophie is about as unfiltered as they come when it comes to PR training. She doesn't give a lot of cookie-cutter answers. And so when she says we have to be more PO'd going into these games, that to me is a very human emotion and a very easy thing to sort of relate to. And I think that the fan base, she even talked about that, Jeff, where she was saying what we gave them the other day against the Valkyries was not good enough. Mm-hmm. Like, people who paid to come see us play should be mad. They should be disappointed in how we performed. And so they have another tough game tonight against the Atlanta Dream, who have no sympathy for them because this is the WNBA. It's the best league in the world for women's basketball, and they're not going to lay down for you just because you're going through a rough patch. So they got to figure some things out, and I think that they have an opportunity to do so because you still have 3 All-Stars. You still have a coach who has won at the highest level. And, you have championship caliber players or players on your team that have won championships. And so you all know what it takes. It's just, can you get to a certain level of consistency like we talked about, really all season with this team. And that's the frustrating part is like, I love that she said we're running out of time, and you are. This isn't early in the season anymore. You're almost at the midway point, and at some point, you are what you are. So if we're looking up, and I know they got 3 or 4 games before the All-Star break. If we're looking up 3 or 4 games after the All-Star break, and we're still having this conversation, I'm not going to be sitting here saying they can turn it around or they're going to turn over a new leaf. They'll be a different team. They'll be that team. That's who you are at that point.
I fully expected this team to at some point gel, especially with all the veterans they have on it. Like, okay, they've all been playing in the league for relatively. They're not all like rookies coming in where they have to find their footing and all that stuff. They've all been playing in the league for quite a bit, and the fact that they haven't gelled together and found each other's strengths and kind of gone off that, the fact that they're still figuring that out almost halfway through the season is kind of alarming in my mind. Yeah.
And we need to get Caitlin Clark healthy. And look, this is the biggest non-secret there is when it comes to the Indiana Fever and the entire WNBA. When she, and I do believe she will, when she figures out how to not turn the ball over 4, 5, 6, 7 times a game, which has happened, when she starts to get better control of that and learns each teammate, hey, I can make this quick, nifty pass, and they're going to be ready for it, and I can trust that teammate. I don't know if it's sometimes she trusts her teammates too much with some of the things she does. I think she tries to do a little too much by herself sometimes. But when she, as a young player, figures that out, it is going to be off the hook, James. And it already is some nights. But when we get that consistency from night to night to night, like Tyrese Halliburton, maybe we got spoiled by Tyrese. The run there of 12 assists to 1 turnover, 13 assists to 2 turnovers, 15 assists to 2 turnovers. Maybe we just got spoiled by that. If she can get to that level, forget about it. Forget about it.
Yeah, that's a hard level to get to. She's capable of it, though. I mean, she's very talented as a player.
You can see it. She has games. Like
yeah,
that.
But even the turnover number for Ty, though, is so rare.
That's why I say we got spoiled, right?
Yeah, it's so rare. Like, I don't even want to put that on her because I'm like, we're asking her to do something that we haven't seen in the NBA or WNBA. Yeah, so to me, realistically, I believe she's at about 5.5 turnovers, something like that, per game in her career. And, correct me if I'm wrong.
And that's in a 40-minute game. That's not a 48-minute game.
Yeah, I think it needs to be somewhere around 3.
Yeah.
3 is a more sustainable number if you look at some of the best ball handlers and really offensive engines in W and NBA. So that's a number I think that's more feasible because 5, 6, 7 turnovers in a game, it's very hard to win that when it's usually leading to opportunities for other teams to take advantage of.
I do think she'll get that figured out. I'm still a huge Caitlin Clark fan. I wouldn't want her on any other team in the league anywhere. She's going to do great things. She's going to do great things for the Indiana Fever. And I don't think we've said anything that she and Stephanie White don't feel the same way about either.
No, not at all. And then the bottom line is she has to shoot it better. 38% from the field this year, 30% from 3.
I read a lot of that, though, is that leg was really bothering her because that's for the first time in her career she's really dipped to that level.
Yeah. Even last year, though, 41% from the field, 34% from 3. And I get that she last year was a different team and she's dealing with a lot of defensive attention, but got to be more efficient when it comes to some of this shooting as well.
I would say also, too, that what percentage of the shots that she takes from 3 do you think are open or uncontested at this point in time?
Very few, and
right.
Honestly, that might be part of the answer.
No,
Jeff.
I think that is. I mean, they got 1, 2 people flying at her at all times, everywhere on the court, because they figured out early on you have to pick her up before the midcourt stripe and keep pressure on her. And she'll adjust to that. I think she'll adjust to that over time. And I think the Fever offense will start to adjust to that a little bit too. All right. We'll hear more from Rick Carlisle, who was speaking about the future of the Indiana Pacers on a podcast. We'll do that a little bit later on. We'll also take a look back at last night's Indiana Pacers Summer League game. It's the Fan Morning Show on a Friday morning. We continue with James Boyd, Jeff Rickard, Mark Dykton right here, 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hoping that no animals are harmed in the duration of my vacation. Hoping that no family members suddenly have a problem, Mark.
Be careful. Watch out for those sandwiches, too.
You a fan of the Vacation movie?
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm talking to James.
Oh, have you ever seen it?
Have you seen the
Nope,
Vacation movie?
haven't seen it.
Oh, because he was looking very confused as we were talking about references to Aunt Edna, the sandwiches.
No idea what you're talking about.
Christy-
I do know
Christy Brinkley in the pool.
the Johnson family vacation with Ice Cube.
I do remember that one, too.
Yeah.
Classic in my household growing up.
Basically, vacation is loading everybody up in the family truckster, driving cross country, and anything and everything that can go wrong hilariously does.
Well, they're trying to go to like a knockoff Disney World and like
Wally World.
Yeah, it's kind of. When I was first doing road trips to Florida, I'm like, this could go the way that the National Lampoon movie went. And this would
Lord.
not go well.
I would not wish that on you, Mark.
No.
Look, I'm not spoiling it for anybody other than James Boyd, but
It's 45 years old. You're not
yeah,
spoiling
I was about
anything.
to say, yeah, you can.
somebody gets most of the way to Wally World on the top of the car. That's all I'll say.
How long do you give a movie before you talk about it?
I mean, some people are like, I don't want to spoil Sixth Sense. I'm like, he's dead the whole time.
Yeah.
It's been long enough. You've had plenty of time to watch
Yeah,
it.
because I'm like, if a movie is over
Now
like a year old, I'm like, at that point, you had your chance to watch, especially if it's like over like 5 years.
Well,
I mean, come on now.
And even in this like day of streaming and stuff, like the Game of Thrones episodes would happen or
Yeah.
Breaking Bad. And it's like, okay, like maybe give like a 24 to 48 hour grace period.
Right.
But there were some people I had to mute because they were like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. I'm like, just calm down a second. I don't need to.
Yeah. I'm not. I am very cognizant of that, and I make sure I don't. I did that a lot with Paradise on Hulu when we were watching that, Mark. And like, yeah, Game of Thrones was another one. I actually had to catch up on that myself. But what's the other one I've been watching recently? Oh, The Last of Us. That's like the big HBO show now.
Right.
And so I'm very, because I'll usually watch it the night it gets released. I'm like, I don't want to be the guy spoiling it at 12:01 or whatever, and someone's like, I can't. I had to put my kids to bed. I can't even watch this show yet.
Real quickly though.
Oh, go ahead.
No, what were you going to say?
I was going to say that I had to mute one guy I used to work with because like we would work on different shifts. This is before radio, but I don't remember if it was Breaking Bad or whatever. But like he would be watching it live. I would have to watch it later after I got off work. And like if you didn't mute him, he'd be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe so and so just died." I'm like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Dang,
I'm like,
yeah,
"Get
that's
the
the
hell
worst
out
kind of
here."
person.
I'm like, "You are the worst."
Yeah, you're supposed to be texting people about.
You don't say
show
that on
reaction.
social
Yeah,
media?
not social
Well,
media.
back in the day too. Did you ever watch 24 with Kiefer Sutherland?
No, I did not. My
That-
cousin watched it.
It was just a fantastic. It was the premise was terrific, James. I don't know if you ever saw it but it happened in real time. So every season was a 24-hour. It was called 24. Each episode was real time 60 minutes of what was going on. They didn't just skip ahead to 3 days later.
Interesting.
And it was a lot of fun. But what was great about that show is there were no sacred characters, man. Anybody and everybody could get gone at any moment in time, and you just didn't know who or when or how.
That's how I felt about Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
I loved it so much. Shout out to Walter Scott.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, it is summertime.
Walter White.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry, not Walter Scott.
Walter
Walter
White.
Scott.
Yeah,
Walter
I was
White.
gonna- See, I was gonna. You were nicer. I was gonna let that go.
No,
No, hit me with the ant. Yeah, Walter White. It's been a while since I watched that show.
Walter Scott, the executive producer of
Yeah.
Breaking Bad.
That was Vince Gilligan, wasn't it?
It's like Walter.
Yeah.
I just Googled Walter Scott, Scottish novelist and poet. Definitely not Walter White.
Still one of the greatest soliloquies of all time, though, when he says, "Do you know who I am?"
It's such a good show.
Still gives me goosebumps
If you've never watched
when I think
Breaking
about
Bad, it is so much replay value. It's
Yeah, it's
incredible.
awesome.
I have promised my oldest son that we will watch that together, but he wanted to watch Better Call Saul first because he's kind of from a meme. All these kids know about these movies from meme movies and TV shows, but he's fascinated with Saul Goodman, so he wants to watch Better Call Saul first, which is fun.
I feel like didn't we establish this like a few months ago? Are you not through this show?
I am.
What pace are we going at?
Well, he started in school and now he's traveling and stuff, so we'll get back to
Oh, yeah,
it.
It's a
forgot
long
it.
flight. You could have had a whole couple seasons
He wants
downloaded.
to watch, but see, we want to do this together,
Oh,
James.
God bless your son. I didn't want to watch any shows with my parents.
Well, I've gotten to the point, too, where I'll ask Ashley if she's interested in the show, and I give it a week before. If we don't watch the first episode, I'm like, I'm watching it myself.
Yep,
Well,
there
this
you
is
go.
ridiculous.
That's how that goes.
I'm like, there's no way you want to watch the Lakers series with John C. Reilly, and then get the hell out of here. That's like 4 years. I still haven't watched an episode.
It's the Fan Morning Show with he's Mark Dykton, James Boyd, I'm Jeff Rickard, and last night it is summertime. That's why we're talking about movies right now. But we do have Summer League basketball to talk about, and for the most part, I thought from a Summer League expectation, last night delivered.
Absolutely. It was what you would want from the Pacers. It was grit. It was, all-out effort, the crazy comeback. And honestly, I'm thinking these teams, have they not learned their lesson? It felt like that was a replay of what we saw when the Pacers and the Cavs faced off in the playoffs in the second round, I believe. So that was a big game from, I thought, Ray J. Dennis, another big game, Quentin Jackson. But as far as newcomers go, I was very impressed with Taylor Peter, man. And he's a rare blend of athleticism and efficiency, because I believe I want to say he was like a state champion high jumper or triple jumper when he was in high school. And you saw athleticism on display yesterday with a couple of dunks. And I think that he's going to be a player that, I don't know if he makes the actual roster for the Pacers. That's a hard one to kind of get after, but I do think he'll be a very good big piece of the Noblesville Boom and the G League program, and he'll have a chance to kind of prove himself throughout the season.
Of course, the marquee player from the Summer League perspective is Johnny Furphy. Everyone wants to see Johnny Furphy. He only got to play 9 minutes last night because he took an elbow to the head. Apparently he's going to be okay, and he'll get right back into action. But he scored 8 points in 9 minutes. And he was off to a pretty good start there.
Yeah, I thought he looked really good and, knocked down, I believe, a couple of threes. And that's what's always enticing to me, because I'm like, man, guys who can do what he requires in his position at his size, meaning 6'8" dudes that can shoot the three ball, who can defend and provide some length on the perimeter, those dudes get paid. And those dudes make a difference when it comes to trying to go after a championship or go after a deep playoff run. So I might be getting ahead of myself a little bit because I was on the Johnny Furphy Summer League MVP train, yesterday. And then I believe that the mantle now goes to Ray J. Dennis at the moment. But nevertheless, Johnny Furphy did look pretty good in his minutes. And they'll be back in action, I believe, Saturday against the Oklahoma City Thunder. So it'll be a rematch of the finals. And like I said, or like Mark said, actually, we'll look at it as if it's game 8 of the finals.
Yeah, and again,
hang the banner.
I'll take any banner at this point in time. After falling behind by 16 early, they kind of battled back. They still looked like they were going to lose, and it's Summer League, so you're like, okay, whatever. They're down 111-101 with 2:38 to go. And after that, Ray J. Dennis makes a technical free throw. Ray J. Dennis follows that up with a 26-foot three-pointer. A little bit later on, they get the ball back. Philip Wheeler makes a tip shot. A little bit later on, after one quick turnover, Cleveland couldn't really convert to it. Ray J. Dennis gets a big rebound and then takes it back down, and the Pacers continue to go. He ends up making free throw. Enrique Freeman makes a 1-foot dunk right after that. Taylor Peter makes a 1-foot dunk. I'm just reading the play-by-play here. Philip Wheeler also got a dunk down the stretch. Well, just so people know. Enrique Freeman then finished it off with a couple of free throws, and all of a sudden they go from being 10 down, and in the last 2.5 minutes, they end up winning 116-115.
Crazy game.
It was Pacers-esque.
Like, do you guys ever win normal games? That's the challenge for the Pacers. Let's say they win 43 games next season. Can you win 25 of them without giving your fan base, heart palpitations?
Are you not entertained? I like to say about the Pacers.
Yeah, they'll definitely be entertaining. I'll give them that. But man, they stress you out.
Anybody else that really caught your eye last night?
I love to watch Quentin Jackson hoop. I know he just signed another 2-way contract with the Pacers, but I do think that's a guy who could potentially challenge for some minutes at some point. I just think that his athleticism is very in your face. He's always playing above the rim. He's 6'5". He defends. He has high energy. I guess the coaching staff calls him LA because he got a big personality. And he's always giving that energy and that effort to his teammates. And so I think he's somebody that I am impressed with. And I think that he's taken another step forward as well. And even last year when he had to start some games because Andrew Nembhard was hurt, Aaron Nesmith was hurt, he didn't look like he was, out of sync. Sometimes players who play in the G League or at the, back of the rotation, they kind of look that way when they're in the rotation. He looks legit, man, and I think that he has a lot of upside.
Yeah, we saw Cam Jones for about 20 minutes last night. I look more at Cam coming off the hamstring. I thought he was kind of dipping his toes into the water a little bit last night and trying to figure out what's going on here, what's happening. I mean, he was okay. He wasn't tremendous, but he was okay. And I thought that was a guy, typical rookie going to summer league, just kind of figuring it all out in front of him.
Yeah, exactly. It's not as easy as it looks sometimes, and I know we can kind of live and die with these debuts, especially when it's not in this regard with Cam Jones, but when the higher level players play, like, Cooper Flagg, or a few years ago, when you're looking at Zion Williamson in Summer League, or what are they going to be? Oh my gosh, they had a bad opening or whatever. I remember Trae Young was awful in Summer League for a couple of games, and now he's one of the highest paid players in the league and pretty much a perennial all-star. So I think that, Cam Jones is, like you said, getting his feet wet a little bit. Showed a couple of different playmaking abilities, scored a little bit as well. So, like I said, I just want to see more of it, and then, more than anything, stay healthy throughout this whole process, because you don't want anything to be lingering.
Yeah, and again, the other thing about Summer League that we forget sometimes, these are a bunch of really young kids with no real depth of NBA experience. A few of them do, but they're also thrown together for the first time and said, okay, go figure it out right now. So you got that going on, too.
I do agree. All
right. The other thing about Summer League, we saw everybody was hyping up the Cooper Flagg, Bronny James, Lakers Mavericks showdown last night. I thought Cooper Flagg looked like your typical rookie. He showed flashes of really nice stuff. Had trouble finding his shot. Probably a little nervous out there, I would imagine, for the first time. But he certainly looked like he belonged, and he's going to be a good player. I don't know if you saw any of it.
I did watch it, and actually, during that game, the most exciting thing to me was hearing from Andrew Nembhard for the first time after the Miles Turner trade. And for those who might be wondering, like, why the heck is he in Vegas watching the Mavs and the Lakers? It's because his little brother, Ryan Nembhard, who had a great game in his Summer League debut yesterday, was playing. And during that game, Andrew Nembhard was actually doing a sideline interview, and they kind of put him on the spot. And it was, I believe, now correct me if I'm wrong, I might have missed this if someone else spoke, but I believe this is the first current player that we've seen on camera give their thoughts on Miles leaving. And here's what Andrew Nembhard had to say.
And we've looked for the audio, but we can't find it. So.
Yeah, and I was like, do I want to hold my phone up to a TV and have bad audio? Probably not. So I'll just read it to you here. It's very short. It wasn't, too riveting anyways. But I was a little shocking. It was a little shocking when it first happened. Obviously, I loved my time with Miles, and it was great being his teammate. He's done a lot for me being one of the vets, and I'm excited to see his success over there. So that was what Andrew Nembhard had to say about Miles joining the rival Bucks.
I'm sure a lot of them were a little surprised, but they also live in the age of this is business.
Shocking is the word we keep hearing from a lot of teams, and not teams, I'm sorry, a lot of teammates. And we heard from Kevin Pritchard as well. And I know some folks are like, well, how come this player didn't like his post on Instagram? And how come they didn't comment anything? And they must hate Miles. And I don't know if all that is true, man. But I do know that he's on the other side now. And at some point, sooner rather than later, you probably got to move on. And there'll be a time, I'm sure, where if he hasn't spoken to some of his teammates, he will. But for now, I think a lot of them are just kind of focused on the offseason and where they go from here.
I think one of the most overblown things, and I guess, I don't know, maybe it's just a generational thing, but when there's big news because somebody unfollowed their coach or their teammate or their team on social media, what does that mean?
Yeah, I feel like every year that happens in football. Like if we see and I don't think Alec Pierce even has a Twitter, but we see like an A.D. Mitchell tweet. I feel like every wide receiver, not every wide receiver, but usually the wide receivers in the NFL are the ones who send the cryptic messages the most.
Well, wide receivers are just...
I know.
Mercurial is the word I would use.
Real quick here, though, I do want to, hit a little bit of Colts. I'm looking at, and we have a piece out at The Athletic where they went through basically asking the AFC South, can anybody knock off the Texans? They currently have the Colts listed as a team that's right behind the Texans in the division as far as who could possibly win it. And one of the players they mentioned as far as being a breakout star would be Laiatu Latu. Mm-hmm. And I do think, like we've kind of mentioned, he's got to be a dude for them, man. Like, you look at where Jared Verse was last year and how good he looked for the Rams, especially in the playoffs. Jared Verse was a beast. But keep in mind, he was drafted after Laiatu Latu. Chris Ballard told us, hey, we got the best bleeping pass rusher in the draft. We need to see that this season, because if he isn't, taking that step, that's a big, big swing and a miss on a player at a premium position. So I'm not saying that like Latu, had a bad rookie season. I think he had 4 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and didn't really play that many snaps overall because of the rotations that he was in. But with Dayo Odangbo leaving, he's somebody I'm looking at to really take a step forward, especially in his revamped defense as well with Luan Arumo.
All right, we'll talk more about all of this a little bit later on. By the way, Bria Goss, analyst on the radio for the Indiana Fever, going to join us at the top of the hour, 9 o'clock. Alex Golden will join us at 9:30. We'll talk about Pacers Summer League and the departure of Miles Turner. But in the meantime, let's check it down.
The Morning Checkdown on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
For those keeping track at home, the score will record the Pacers with a 116-115 victory in Game 1 of the 2025 Summer League in Las Vegas yesterday. But what it won't tell you is they were 10 points down with 2.5 minutes plus to go, and they just did what the Pacers have been doing for the last 8 weeks.
They come back, and they win, and they make the other team look like they don't know how to play basketball the last 2 minutes of the game. So, typical Pacers fashion.
Ray J. Dennis led the way with 26 points, 9 assists. He made 4 3-pointers. Quentin Jackson, 24 points, some big shots down the stretch. Enrique Freeman was a delight to watch yesterday, 19 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. He had some big free throws at clutch time as well. All in all, everything you could want from a Summer League game, I would think.
Yeah, I would say it's one of the better viewing experiences of the Summer League because some of these games get rough. I thought the Lakers and Mavericks game after that was rough, but the Pacers gave us a nice, clean game alongside the Cleveland Cavaliers.
If you're just joining us, Johnny Furphy had 8 points in 9 minutes, got hit with an elbow to the head, but he should be okay and return to action later on for the Indiana Pacers. And by the way, the Pacers, they will play a couple of times this weekend. So I'm looking forward to that, too, and I'll give you the details on that coming up in a second here.
Yep. Next matchup, I believe, is Saturday against the Thunder at 5:30 p.m.
I just wanted to make sure I got
TV.
that. That's 5:30 Eastern, right? Because I was given the Pacific time last time.
Yeah. You had them playing at, 11 a.m. out there in Vegas.
Time zone math, as I like to call it.
I was just reading what was on the screen in front of me. That was my Ron Burgundy moment this week.
Well, yeah, don't do what Ron Burgundy did. I can't reach the dump button that quickly.
All right, so that's what's going on with the Indiana Pacers. Indiana Fever return to the floor later on tonight over at the Fieldhouse. They will take on the Atlanta Dream. That one comes your way at 7:30. Sophie Cunningham saying, hey, we got to get going, and it's got to happen right now. Sense of urgency there. Now, will they back that up is the question.
That's always the question with this team because they say all the right things after a game, and then we see some of that up and down nature that they've had this season.
All right, so Mark, when you take your stroll downtown and start to walk around today, you'll see Caitlin Clark and Indiana Fever jerseys all over the place again, which I'm here for.
It's a day that ends in Y. I expect nothing
I
less.
was about to say, yeah, that's been like that since you got here.
All right, IndyCar returns to the track again this weekend. On Sunday, they'll be in Iowa. There were some of the drivers lamenting the fact that they've repaved that course, and it just feels a little bit different to them. Kind of interesting.
I would never hate on repaved roads.
I was going to say.
We live in Indianapolis, for Christ's sake.
Can we get some of that stuff? And why do the repaved roads never last more than 6 months?
I don't know. We have one by Brownsburg. They repaved it and then had to repave it. They repaved the repave because there's a dip in it, and every time you went over it, you launched out of your chair.
That could be the city motto. We repave the repave.
Yeah.
That's how that goes.
Still working on it.
All right, Major League Baseball yesterday. Cincinnati Reds of the Miami Marlins by a score of 6-0. Playing really good baseball right now. I like that. Ellie De La Cruz, stop me if you've heard this before, an RBI single. Chicago Cubs, big win over the Minnesota Twins, Mark. 8-1, final score in some interleague play right there. Colin Ray looked really good.
Mark Dykton guarantee right there.
Yeah, he threw 3-hit baseball and just gave up the 1 run in 7 innings. You got to like that.
I liked it. I liked it a lot. I liked what PCA did, too. When he yarded a couple times, he is phenomenal.
24 and 25 with 3 RBIs. And the Washington Nationals, no match for the St. Louis Cardinals, who win 8-1. Nationals are just a mess right now. If you follow Major League Baseball, they're cleaning house in the front office. They're cleaning house down in the dugout, and they're just hoping to get through the season, I think.
You mentioned,
he's a team that they're a team that should not have a representative in the All-Star game. I don't like the whole thing. It's an all-star game, but all 30 teams have to be represented. No, they don't.
Yeah, I don't
If you're
agree with
not
that at all.
good, get the hell out of here.
That comes usually
How
from
bad is your baseball team that you can't have in an expanded roster? What are they up to? 32 now, Mark, after they make their additional selections when it's all said and done? Something like that?
Something like that.
And you really don't have one that deserves to be there. That's low right there.
I mean, I'm sorry. Like, who on the Oakland or the Athletics should be on there? Who on the National? The Pittsburgh Pirates, who can't win a game. The Colorado Rockies?
Yeah, I don't
You're telling me
agree
the
with that.
Colorado Rockies at 21-72 have an all-star? No, they do not.
I'm hiding my head in shame over here.
You should be.
No
they
chance.
stink. They're terrible, and they should not have representation.
I do want to mention real quick for IndyCar, I believe it's Saturday and Sunday, correct?
Yes.
For
Yeah,
Iowa?
they got a couple.
Yes.
Double dip.
Yeah.
Just making sure our listeners know.
All right, that's what's going on in the world of sports. Anything else you want to throw in before we head off?
Go see Superman.
You liked it. So 4 stars, 3 stars, 2 stars. What do you give it?
Let's figure out your scale.
Yeah,
first
what
of
is your
all.
scale? How do
It's
you
a
use?
5-star movie if we're going on 5 stars.
Okay.
I would give it a 5.
Wow. So you go back and see it again?
Yes, I would.
Ooh.
It was that
Are there
good.
any post-credit scenes? Because that's always
Yes.
the big thing these days.
Anybody going to see Superman, stay for the what they call it mid-credits scenes, and they have a one all the way at the end as well. So sit your butt in that seat and do not get up and leave.
Was it
That's
worth
what-
it? Was that scene worth it?
I think so. Yeah, it was good.
See, I have to do that all the time now with movies. Like, we went to saw Jurassic
Yeah.
World the other day, and my daughter's like sitting in the thing like, no. There's no post-credit scene. She's like, are you sure? I'm like, yes. I had to look it up because that's what you have to do with these kind of movies
I
these
am
days.
kind of like that, though, because you should just be Marvel, and now it feels like every movie you go to, they have a
Mm-hmm.
post-credit scene.
Right. I'm just curious. In the long run of Superman's, how far do you go back for actors playing Superman?
Oh, I have no idea. I'm not good with
Did you ever see the Christopher Reeve
actors
movie?
and the people you're naming. I probably know them by face, but not by
Okay.
name. I'm terrible with actor names, honestly.
How about you, Mark?
I know Christopher Reeves. I've never seen a Christopher Reeve Superman movie. I remember Dean Cain in the Superman TV show with
I just remember Lois
Terry
Lane
Hatcher,
and Terry
yeah.
Hatcher.
Uh-huh.
Oh, was Dean Cain in that too?
He was.
I thought that was a Terry Hatcher vehicle.
I forget what that show was called, but I remember that my mom watched that show in the 90s or something. I'm like, what is this?
What'd you think of Henry Cavill?
He was okay. He's okay. I do really want to see this Superman, though. I've heard nothing but good things. So I am excited to see it. James gave his stamp of approval like he did with Sinners. Sinners hopefully gets knocked out this weekend in my house, but we'll see.
All right, that's what's happening in the world of sports and movies this morning here on the Fan Morning
Cisco
Show.
and Ebert in the mornings.
I mean, Superman is quite the athlete, I must say.
Should be. And
Yeah.
I know in one of the original ones, his dad was always telling him, like, you can't just go out for sports and just dust everybody all the time. You gotta eke it out at the very end. Right?
It's like the son in Incredibles where he's in the
Dash.
track and field race and he has to slow down.
That's what it was. It's The Incredibles. I may be conflating the two.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dash, was that his name? Yeah. All right. More on the Indiana Pacers and Rick Carlisle speaking. We'll hear from him next as we continue. The Fan Morning Show at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
That's Mark Dykton spinning the tunes. James Boyd in today. Kevin Bowen is off already on vacation. He's already gotten away. You've been away multiple times already this year. James has been the guy that's been through thick and thin for the last since we started this.
I show up to work.
Staycation Boyd.
Yeah,
if he's not working at the Athletic, he's still here.
Yeah, people always ask, where are you going on vacation whenever I do take some time off? And I'm like, I think because of being fortunate enough to travel a lot for work, I usually don't want to go anywhere. I'm usually going back to Illinois to see the family. Other than that, just some time off here is good enough for me.
What's the coolest place you've ever just gone to visit and stayed for a couple of days and had a really good time?
The coolest place you said I've been to?
Yeah.
I mean, the trip to Germany was really fun a few years ago for the Colts. That was a good time, mainly because I had never been to Europe before, and I'd never been that far away from home. And so going overseas literally was a cool experience. And
did you get a stein of real German beer? I know you and I don't really drink, but I'd probably try it if I went.
Nah, yeah, I don't drink. I don't try it. I have no interest in trying it. And I probably needed it, though. It was a little cold over there, so it was cold. But I had a good time. My buddy Nate Atkins, who covers the Colts for IndyCar, so we get over there on a Friday because we flew overnight Thursday to Friday. They had a practice, I think, Friday night, morning, whatever time it was. And then the next day, that Saturday, we had the entire day to ourselves. So me and him got up and we just explored the city of Frankfurt for the entire day. I think we might have left the hotel like 9 a.m.
Yeah.
And we might have got back at like close to midnight because we found there was like one bar that was playing American football on the TVs. And so, YouTube TV does not work overseas, in case you didn't know.
What?
So we had to find a bar. We stood in this long line to get in, and we were the ones with the accents because everyone knew we were from America, obviously, because of the way we talked. But it was a good time. I enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to going back to Germany again this year for the Colts, this time to Berlin.
Mark, how about you guys? I know you fill up the family truckster and go different places all the time.
Yeah, I'm trying to think like the coolest place we probably went. I would probably just see. We did a trip where we went to like the East Coast. Went to Philly, New York, Rhode Island, Maryland, and Boston. So we kind of did we hit all those main cities, kind of see like the history of the country and all that stuff. That was pretty cool. And it was a whirlwind because we went to like Philly to New York City and all that stuff. So we did a whirlwind, but that was probably the coolest, just to kind of get a lay of the land of the country and all that stuff. So.
I've been a couple of times, but I really want to, I'd love to just rent an apartment for like a month in Washington, D.C., just so you could go to the different museums and everything almost every single day, because I think it would take you like a month to see everything there.
Yeah, I did see the Lincoln Memorial last time I was in D.C.
Chills, right?
Yeah.
Chills.
And going to see the Martin Luther King statue as well. And that was before I caught a flight back to Indianapolis. I got up really early and caught an Uber over there, and I was like, I got to see something historic before I leave here.
Did you have the mall and the monument to yourself at that hour of the morning, or people?
Yeah, it was pretty early.
Already?
Yeah, it was one lady who was walking by the Martin Luther King statue, and I got her to take my photo in front of it. I sent it back to my family, and they were pretty proud of that, obviously, being a young black man in sports and being next to that sort of figure. So that was really fun.
All right. As far as Indiana Pacers are concerned, we've been talking about Summer League, but also Rick Carlisle. We've had bits and pieces of his conversation with Chris Long in the Chris Long podcast, which is not out yet. When are they actually going to release that thing?
Yeah,
James?
I'm like, I don't know what their schedule is over for the Green Light podcast, but the green light needs to be green lit, because I'm like, at what point do we get the full episode?
Well, they dropped an episode today, and I was like, that must be the Rick Carlisle. Nope, not that one. So I'm like, you've been leaking out clips, and it's still not the one today.
I know.
We're looking. It looks like they do one every Tuesday and Friday. So I'm like, maybe Tuesday, but good Lord.
It is.
It's a long tease.
Yeah, it's a bit annoying. But if you do have that audio queued up, Mark,
yes.
Here is what Rick Carlisle had to say as far as how they built their team in the past and how they're going to continue to build it in the future, obviously with the departure of Miles Turner and the injury to Tyrese Halliburton.
The trade Sabonis for Halliburton and Hield, really restarted things. Then we started building around those guys, and guys like Neesmith and some good drafts, and Miles Turner and TJ McConnell fit in. And then, the acquisition of Siakam last year really elevated us to a different level. And so, we've taken a situation that wasn't great, and we've helped convert it into a great situation. And we have some injury stuff to overcome. We lost Miles Turner to free agency, but we're going to get the wheels on the wagon there. We just traded for Jay Huff, another UVA guy, who can really shoot it, and he's going to be part of a center by committee deal, which I've done before, and all this is doable. And so next year, without Tyrese, gives Nembhard a chance to play more of his pure position at point. We develop somebody else at the 2 position, and then a year from now, when Tyrese is coming back into the fold, the hope is that we can go on another run.
We developed somebody else at the 2 position.
That was the one takeaway I had. First time I heard that, I think you sent it to Mark and I. You had found it yesterday, and I listened to that real quick, and I was like, oh, develop somebody. What happened to Benedict Mather? I like Benedict Mather, and I think he's got potential, but I think clearly the little fire underneath the feet there is being lit.
Yeah, I would love to just really press Rick on that and sort of pick his brain, because there's the other Ben that is, in theory, I guess a candidate to start, and Ben Shepherd. But in my mind, that guy, if you're looking for a leap and a level riser, it has to be Benedict Mathurin, man. So that was interesting. And Rick, I tried to read too much into what he says, but looking back at working with him in the past, there's always a little nugget there, here or there, similar to Chris Ballard, where I don't think they ever really flat out lie to you, but there's always little nuggets along the way that maybe inform how they're thinking. But that could have been a Freudian slip, as they say, or you kind of.
It could have just been his treetop answer to a bunch of stuff, too.
It could have just been a whole bunch of nothing, and I'm just overanalyzing because that's what we do in the summer. But bottom line is, I do think Rick Carlisle and that regime in the franchise expect a lot from Benedict Mathurin, and this is the year to prove it. I mean, you were not going to get the ball in your hands this much, in theory, with a healthy Tyrese Halliburton. Now that you will have, in theory, a bigger piece of the pie, what do you do with it, and how do you respond?
Yeah, and look, I don't think we can overstate, and I think Rick kind of underlined this earlier too, the importance of Pascal Siakam, as he said, just took us to another level. And his game has actually gone to a different, even as well as he played in that championship run for Toronto, I think he's better now than he was back then. I do.
Pascal?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's a better player. And honestly, that run, I believe he might have been their 3rd guy, because remember, it was Kawhi, and it was Kyle Lowry as well, was a big part of that run. But yeah, he's probably a better player than he was back then.
But he stepped up in that series too.
Absolutely.
Big.
He had a huge bucket over Draymond Green in one of those games to basically seal the finals. And so I'm never going to question his championship medal and also just his ability as a basketball player. Pascal can really, really hoop. It's, again, he's proven. I think Andrew Nembhard has proven to this point. Aaron Nesmith has proven to this point. Benedict Mathurin has proven his potential. It's, can you sustain it? And I think that's a nice challenge for him, because he is crazy. And I mean that in a very good way. I mean, everyone else is waiting for Miles to say something, and we haven't really heard from the other guys. And here's this guy posting a photo of him dunking on Miles in a summer league, or like a summer league get-together that they had last year, or summer run that they had as a team. So him posting that just let me know where his head is. And that's where I'm like, I want to just buy more stock in Benedict Mathurin, because he's nuts. And I think you do need, to a degree, that sort of player on your team who is a little bit more standoffish, so to speak, when it comes to being competitive, not liking the opponent, and kind of giving you that quote-unquote old school, maybe it's a cliche, but he does give me some of that vibe of, if you ain't in this jersey, I'm not rocking with you at all.
The other guy, we were talking about role players a little while ago, and how TJ McConnell is like the ultimate role player. Tell me what you need me to do. That's what I'm going to give you 100%. I kind of feel like we need to talk about Obi Toppin in that role too, because I think he was terrific in so many different spots for them this past year. Yeah. Again, I don't know if he's a guy you want to give 35 minutes a night consistently, but the way he comes in and the energy he brings and some of the things he does, you can't discount just how important he was to that team.
Absolutely, and that can go down the line. But I did get a kick out of a few people who were asking me, hey, can they just go, small ball and put Obi at the 5? Absolutely not. You would get killed against. You could do it at times, very small sample size, but no, I do not want Obi Toppin starting at center for the Pacers. That would be franchise malpractice. And so expect to see that, center by committee approach with Jay Huff. And I'm excited to see him. I think that Jay Huff is, a player that is sort of, to me, a good swing on, for the price that they paid to get him. Essentially 2 second-round picks. I'm good with that. I think Jay Huff had a breakout season last year with Memphis. He is a bit of a journeyman. I believe this is his 5th team in 5 years, so he's kind of bounced around. But when he did finally get in the rotation with the Memphis Grizzlies last year, I thought he showed a lot of promise. Now, is he a great rebounder? No, he's kind of got some of the same issues as Miles when it comes to rebounding. Not a huge rebounder, but like Miles, he can shoot the three. He can block some shots. And, if he gives you, I guess, a Miles light in certain minutes, I think that would be a good acquisition for the Pacers.
Do you know what the question we haven't asked, and I think is very important? Mark, you'll agree. That wonderful group of fans that have been so dedicated for the last 6-7 years. What do we do with? What are the guys that make up? Turner's block.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do with those guys? What do they do with themselves? How do they evolve? Where do they go? Because that's been fun.
I saw they took down the signage for Turner's block, and I wondered if their taps was played or anything like that. Like those guys just stood there and saluted it. And then
those are some of the greatest fans of our show too. They check in all the time. I love it. What do we do with that? Where do they evolve to? Where do they go? Because they're not going anywhere. They're still going to go to the Pacers games. They're going to be sitting in their seats. What do they do?
I feel like you should turn it into like a Halliburton care package wing. If you want to be there and cheer on Tyrese Halliburton from the box across the arena, you should go check that out.
I'm looking forward to where they evolve to, because they got to do something with that. That doesn't just go away, does it? You have to rename it, but it doesn't just go away, does
hell,
it?
Maybe you just sell the seats now. Is that how that goes?
Huff Hall. There you go.
Rebrand
it. Yeah.
What's crazy? I had a legitimately, this is true story. That was the name of the facility that the Illinois volleyball team played at. So I had to cover their games there back in college.
Was that HUFF or HOUGH?
No, it was HUFF, Huff Hall. So exactly how J Huff is spelled. And honestly, someone said Huff's house. That sounds pretty funny. Huff's house.
That's way better than what I said.
Does he have to? He's got to earn it though. He's got to go out there and perform a little bit.
You can't just give that away. You got to earn that.
Yeah.
Miles earned that. Right?
We got to find. Oh, you know what? No, it should be what do they say on Twitter? The Nemetary.
I do like that one.
Because Nembhard puts all these players in jail and he destroys his. Count me in. If we're gonna redo the Miles Turner block, give me a rendition of Andrew Nembhard, something defense related, locking up people, prison, cemetery, whatever the case may be. Give me a Andrew Nembhard related theme.
Nemetary I like a lot.
Yeah,
that is very good.
It's Fan Morning Show here on 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Fever play a little bit later on tonight against the Atlanta Dreams. Sophie Cunningham, outspoken yesterday. You can hear her for yourself next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Do you curate these lists of songs the night before, or do you just wing it? Because you're doing a
Winging it off
fantastic
the
job
top
today.
of my head. Figure we're talking vacations. These are some,
There we go.
Put it on your playlist.
It's the time, and just trying to kill time till football season. Not really killing time. There's been a lot to talk about, a lot to do. We've been very blessed for Sports Talk in Indianapolis over the last, it's been a while. Last year and a half, man. There's never a shortage of things to talk about here. I tell people all the time, James, and you've been around the country, there's no greater sports city in America than Indianapolis. There just isn't. When you talk about Super Bowls, Final Fours, All-Star games, teams that recently have been competing. The Colts have played in a couple of Super Bowls. It just the Big Ten, all the things that go on here. The Butler run, the Purdue run. It's been fantastic over the last decade or so. I don't know too many cities where you get more great stuff all the time.
Yeah, I had to laugh, though, real quick on the Colts played in a couple Super Bowls a while ago.
It's been a minute. I get it.
I'm like, they are struggling. They got to get to the playoffs.
Can we win the division? Can we win in week one? Let's get there.
My point is, you got the NFL, you got the NBA, you got Big Ten, you got all kinds of huge events coming at this city all the time. It's as good as it gets, James. It really is. I'll die on that hill.
That you will.
Crown Hill. A lot of people died on that hill.
No, they didn't die on the hill. That's where they
are currently
took up
buried.
residency. Indiana Fever. They got the biggest, brightest star in all of the WNBA and in women's basketball, Caitlin Clark. And she's back in the lineup. Was not her best game the other night. She wasn't terrible, but it was her first game coming back from injury. But still, the Fever as a collective were terrible. I think we'd all agree on that.
Yeah,
right?
she was bad along with the rest of the team outside of Michaela Timpson, to be honest.
They will be back in action tonight, 7:30 against the Atlanta Dream, and they realize that they haven't been playing very well. They've been very inconsistent. Now, they've had a tremendous game when they won the Commissioner's Cup against Minnesota. That was outstanding. They had some other games where they just were destroying the other team, and they came back and got destroyed, too. So what will we see tonight against Atlanta?
That is the money question, and I believe Sophie Cunningham weighed in on this. And, Mark, if you have the audio, here's what she had to say, so don't take our word for it. Here's a player on the team addressing their sense of urgency and needing more of it going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's just making sure our energy is where it needs to be. It's making sure our focus is where it needs to be. I think we're all a little bit exhausted, but everyone is. We have a lot of games this season. That's part of being a pro. And what a blessing that we get to dribble in orange basketball for a living. And so sometimes it's taking a step back and having a better perspective and being grateful for it. But I think tomorrow night you're going to see a lot of fight. We're starting to get a little bit pissed off, and that's, I think, what we need. We need a fire under our butts. And we should have had yesterday. We have to give credit to them. They're a great team, the Valkyries, but it's not to our standard. And so we need to, we're running out of time, to be honest. And I think that it's going to light a fire under our butts. And so hopefully you'll see kind of that energy shift tomorrow.
Saying all the right things. Saying all the right things. You can hear it in her voice, but now you got to go do it.
Yeah, and that's been the challenge and the disconnect for this team is that they say all the right things, they go out there, and then they lay eggs. But it's not every game. I do want to, be clear on that. They've played great basketball at times. They played not so great basketball at times. But I think the latter is what we've seen as of late, and those will come back to bite you. You can't keep, and necessarily, I know you'll lose games because it's very hard to win in the WNBA, best league in the world. But to lose in that fashion the other day against the Valkyries was pretty bad stuff. I mean, 30% from the field shooting-wise, very rare for that team, but they got to be able to bounce back against a very good Atlanta Dream team tonight at Gamebridge.
Keys to the Game brought to you by Hubler Automotive Group. As always, Hubler's got you covered for 200,000 miles. And I'm going to say the keys to the game are taking care of the basketball and get back to that suffocating defense they showed in that Commissioner's Cup championship game against the Minnesota Lynx, where they were terrific defensively.
Yeah, to throw one more key to the game to that, I would be just saying or just really hammering the scouting report. After a few games this season, more than a few, they have repeatedly said, we had the scouting report, we didn't execute it well enough. Well, why not? That cannot be an excuse any longer. I understand lineups change, injuries are a factor, even making and missing shots. But if you know what you're supposed to do, then do it.
Well, we'll go find out tonight if they can do that. Keys to the Game, again, brought to you by the Hubler Automotive Group. As always, Hubler's got you covered for 200,000 miles. We're coming to you live from the DriveHubler.com studios. And coming up in a moment, we'll talk more about Summer League, what Rick Carlisle had to say, and the weekend ahead. including a couple of IndyCar races.
Yeah, we'll catch up with Bria Goss,
Yes.
the Indiana
Talk
Fever
Fever.
radio guest, coming at 9.
Can I get to that?
Are you talking Pacers?
Yeah, we're talking Fever.
All right, but I'm going to talk about what we're doing in the next hour, and then you finish by saying, but Bria Goss is next. Telling you guys, brutal over here. I'm not even done with the sentence yet. Killing me. Look at that self-satisfactory grin on his face.
I knew I was
going to
buzz you again. Whenever you stopped talking, I was going to buzz you again.
That's why I kept going. All right, we'll do that next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Mark Dykton getting his 2 weeks worth of buzzers out of the way this morning. One way or the other, warranted or not, you're going to get them.
They're fully warranted. In my opinion.
Good morning, James Boyd, Mark Dykton. I'm Jeff Rickard. Welcome into the Fan Morning Show, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Later on tonight, you will hear on this very radio station, the Indiana Fever take on the Atlanta Dream. Starts at 7:30. Airtime with the fan pregame show, and Eddie Garrison starts at 7:15. You'll hear from Bria Goss there, and also from John Nolan. And Bria joins us now on the Payless Liquors hotline to talk about that game and where the Fever have come from, where they're going, what's up next. Good morning, Bria. It's so nice to have you on the show finally. How are you?
Hey, good morning. Thank you so much for having me. It's just an honor to be here. So, good morning.
So, Bria, let's start with the fact that obviously this is a big game tonight with the Dream coming to town. Alicia Gray playing at the MVP level, Ryan Howard. So it's not going to be not that any game in WNBA is easy, but it certainly will not be easy tonight. So what do you view as some of the issues that the Fever have had in these last couple of games and things that they can build on or perhaps correct to get back on the winning track?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things is closing out quarters. It's got to be on the forefront of focus tonight as they go out, because Atlanta is potentially a finals team. I mean, they have the potential and the roster to be really, really successful this season. What actually looked like was going to be a building year is actually turning out to be one of the best years that the Dream have seen. So we've got to be able to come out focused and ready to go and then close these quarters, not letting them stack momentum. And Aaliyah Boston had said it just a few short games ago about stacking the days, which basically means taking one day at a time, getting better each day, holding each other accountable. And I think that that's exactly what Steph White and crew are doing to really just get them prepared for tonight.
How do you explain the wild swings in, dominating the Minnesota Lynx on the road and then coming back and being dominated a couple of times? Like, where do these swings come from, do you think?
Yeah, I can really only speak from just an athlete's point of view. You're not going to have it every night. And unfortunately, those games arise. I don't even know if they really broke film down and really went over a lot of things. I think they just washed it and started focusing on the next team, because just like when you have a bad game and you're not playing well and you're not hitting shots that you typically hit and that the defense is about a step behind, it's kind of like one of those, you got to whip them into shape and then get back out there and play extremely hard. And I know they're probably itching to get back on the court because of how poorly they played. And just not wanting to repeat that again.
Bria, as an athlete yourself, you've been through this, I would imagine, the ups and downs, the injuries, things of that nature. And so when you see Caitlin Clark going through probably a trying second season in the WNBA, how have you seen her handle all that has come with it? Because I do think sometimes, at least myself, I'll take it for granted, all that she has to deal with and still perform at a high level.
Man, I couldn't imagine being in her shoes. I mean,
I don't want them, honestly. I want her new Kobe's, but I don't want the shoes itself.
Literally, like the weight of the world. And that's even when she's playing well. There's just so much pressure and there's just so much anticipation for her to play well day in and day out. And so going through a shooting slump, I know for a fact her confidence cannot be wavered during this time. It's one of those things where you just got to get back to your roots and get back to playing you and playing basketball, and also being patient, knowing that the game will come. But in no shape or form, like, you put in the work, right? Like, what you did over in the off season, the long days, the days that you didn't want to go out to practice and you did anyway and stayed later. So all that kind of comes right back and centered focus of, I've done this before, I know who I am. But then having the weight of the world on your back, like, I think it's just so anticipated that the people desperately want her to get back to the Caitlin Clark that we know and love.
Former Ben Davis High star and star at the University of Kentucky, Bria Goss, and now part of our broadcast team for the Indiana Fever, joining us on the Payless Liquors hotline this morning to talk more about Caitlin Clark. We all know that she's got this bigger-than-life persona, which she's earned, and it's there, but she's also a young woman, and what have you learned about Caitlin Clark since you've been doing these games and you've been able to go on the road a little bit and see who she is, how she interacts with her teammates, things like that. Like, what have you learned about her that the rest of us ought to know?
Yeah, she's just a girl, right? And I say that in the sense of she's super goofy and silly and likes to have fun. She's uber competitive. Okay, and the smallest thing, she's ready to compete. She is a warrior. She goes hard for her teammates. I think she has a lot of camaraderie with her teammates. She likes to style and get dressed up and be fancy. Like I don't know if I was necessarily thinking that she wasn't going to be, just because I have been around great basketball players before, and most of them shock you because of just the personalities that they have and how much they are just so much more than basketball, so beyond the sport in so many different ways. So I don't want to think it was a surprise that, she's as crazy as she is, but it's so refreshing to see that even with all the craziness and the media and all the attention that she gets, she can be very personable. She can be loud. She can be down center. She's coachable, and things. So, it's just so much more than just the sport that she plays.
See, I don't know if Bria, if you were, I would imagine you were a competitor and probably fiery when it comes to playing basketball.
Absolutely.
And now you're all measured, because I'm like, this Caitlin Clark you're describing, yes, I've seen that version of her, but when the basketball goes up in the air, she ain't nice.
Right.
So
Right.
I enjoy that aspect of it too as well. And even beyond her though, one thing I want to hit real quick is the fact that there are 2 other All-Stars on this team. And we look at All-Star selections in this city and for this franchise, it's Tamika Catchings and it's Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell. So what have those 2 meant to this team? And I know, again, struggles this season, but overall, compared to where they were a few years ago, they're still in such a different spot as a franchise just from, where they used to be.
Well, let me tell you, it was hard calling those games back in those days. I started in the wobble season of 2020, and then 2021 when it came about. It was rough. I mean, it was tough, and it looked like just nothing could get going for long stretches and years. You know what I mean? So I want to start with Kelsey Mitchell and giving her flowers. I mean, I can't imagine the mental capacity that she's had to bear, not only from coming from seasons where she's only winning 5 or 6 games, trying to lead her team, staying in a city away from family, and then coming and then, her dad passing away and her mom being extremely sick and coming back and having an all-star season. So giving her flowers, I think, should be, an everyday thing, just for the simple fact that she has battled things behind the scenes that she doesn't talk about, she wants nobody to know about, and still comes on, puts on a face, and goes to work every single night. And then Aaliyah Boston, who came in from a fantastic program at South Carolina to then being the number 1 pick and then it not going her way that first rookie season, but still having some success along the way. So it's like, from a mental standpoint, what the athlete goes through and then still are able to overcome, I think that builds character. And you can see that shine in both of those players. And you see how, it is no surprise that Aaliyah Boston is a starter, and it's no surprise that Kelsey Mitchell is on the team for a 3rd straight year in a row. And I want them to continue that because it's not only good for them and their families, but it's great for the city too, and we're loving it.
Bria, growing up in Indianapolis and loving basketball and playing basketball at an incredibly high level, Miss Indiana at Ben Davis, and then going to play at Kentucky for 4 years. What's it mean to you to come downtown and look up at the Marriott and see a 35-story tribute to women's basketball and Caitlin Clark and the WNBA coming to town? What does that mean to you?
Well, you know what they always say, in 49 states, it's just basketball. And then, here in Indiana, it's a lifestyle. We grew up eat, sleep, breathe basketball. We were in the gym. I was trying to bring my parents to the gym at 5 a.m. at a very young age to get better. We had the city behind us going through my Ben Davis years of just the crazy outpouring support for basketball. And it not always being respected. It wasn't, I don't think we took that to heart in the ways of, we'll never get people on our side. I think it was always hey, we can hoop, we can ball. It's a different game than the men's side. We work hard. We go out there, we compete. We're a little rough around the edges. We can express ourselves in a way. And so now seeing what women's basketball is today, I can't help but to think that I had a small, small piece of it. And I know I'm not super known in the basketball world today and outside of Indiana, but the way that we approach the game is just how these same women are approaching the game today, and they have a platform to do so in such a beautiful fashion that, now everybody's getting hip to women's basketball and what it can provide and how it can open doors for you. Like, we're welcoming these new fans. And so it just means a lot for Indiana. So it means a lot for Indiana to be hosting a WBA All-Star game. And it's one of those things where, in a collective whole, everybody's played their part, and we're just so happy to sit back and see where the game has grown.
See, this is how I know God gives talent to certain people and not me for certain reasons. Because Bria's sitting here talking about, maybe I'm not that well known outside. I'm like, man, well, if you are or if you aren't, you're known around the world. You had a professional career, played in Europe, and won 81 straight games in high school. I'm like, who does that? So I have to give you your flowers too. And I do want to.
I'm humble.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, but I will brag for you, my friend.
Thank you.
But one of the things I'm always curious about when you are a high-level player and you played in so many big situations and you've had so much success with the game, what was it like transitioning to the broadcast side of it, and maybe what do you appreciate about that aspect of it that you maybe weren't able to tap into when you were playing?
So let me tell you, okay, and it's a big shout out to my academic advisor at University of Kentucky, Tiffany Hayden, as she got me in the mindset of one day the ball is going to stop bouncing. And that sounded foreign and weird and so far away that I was just like, yeah, okay. But when I got overseas, I started sitting, and we don't have much to do over there. You're literally, you're quote unquote working maybe 3 hours a day, so the rest of that time, what are you doing? So I really started focusing in on what I wanted to do after basketball. I know for a fact it wasn't training and it wasn't coaching by any means. I don't have the patience. I don't have the camaraderie. I just don't have it. And I feel like that is a profession where you got to be super passionate about. That ain't me. But I still wanted to, in some way, shape, or form, give back to the game. And my degree, which was in communications, I was able to start trying to figure out how I can start penetrating this field. And with me playing overseas, I felt so behind in a way.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like, and just for example, Andrea Carter, who's on ESPN and doing just some amazing, amazing things. Her and I are pretty much the same age, and she was getting all this experience. I was like, I'm going to be behind when I stop. So let me start seeing if I can start networking, connecting now. So I think my fourth year in is when I got, fourth year overseas, I finally got a training camp from the Indiana Fever, which is awesome. Dream come true, playing in front of a home crowd, being a part of the home team, the team that I grew up watching and loving, and Tamika Catchings and all this great stuff. I was on a high. So long story short, I was networking, connecting there. And, of course, I was playing hard in basketball and things. I was the last one to get cut by Pokey Chapman and company. And I had a wonderful, wonderful experience. There's I just understand, the politics of the game and things. That was fine. However, I called back the next year from Tamika Catchings, telling me that she heard that I was interested in broadcasting and wanted to know if I could start working for them as a broadcaster. Hey, we don't have a software team, but we still want you here. And that was definitely God speaking, because for the simple fact being, he took something that was maybe not so pretty, not so beautiful, kind of ugly, and turned it into a beautiful thing, because I was able to start broadcasting. I would go overseas and then come back during the summer and broadcast with the Fever, and then go back overseas. So experience, I was around some amazing people, had some great producers, directors, and Pat Boylan, who has basically taken me under his wing and really helped me out, and who is still there today. So I'm super thankful for the positions that I've been able to be in.
Well, it's fun listening to you. You're doing a great job. We appreciate that. You and John Nolan will come our way later on tonight. Tip 7:30, the fan pregame show with Eddie Garrison comes your way at 7:15. Bria, thanks for being with us this morning. We appreciate it. Look forward to hearing the game tonight.
Hey, thanks so much. You better have me back on again, okay?
Oh, you will be no stranger to the show, believe me.
Thank you so much. You guys have a great morning.
Thanks, Bria Goss, joining us on the Payless Liquors hotline right there. Just a great story. And look, you talk about overcoming things. A lot of people don't know her story. She had her own little bout with cancer and had to work through that. And thankfully, she's with us and thriving and doing well and fun to listen to in the evening. So
yeah, I think that she's, like I said, just an awesome person. Was an awesome player, and I think she kind of undersold herself. But I'm like, man, when you win 81 straight games in high school, you're McDonald's All-American, you're Indiana Miss Basketball, you play overseas. Anytime you can get paid to play basketball,
you're doing okay.
You're pretty good at the sport. I mean, I tell all the guys whenever I go to the YMCA and they start yelling about who's better, because you can see down the street, you can see Cambridge, and I'll look out there and I'm like, all right, which one of you is getting paid to play down there? And then everyone's like, well, and I'm like, well, okay, then if we all paid to get in here, brother, you ain't that good. So sorry to hear you.
Most of those guys get run off the court at Summer League.
No, seriously, it's levels to this, and I think that's what she was getting at when it came to the Fever as well. It's like with these games and these opponents, you can't really take your foot off the gas. You have to be a little bit more connected, and to her point, you can't get too high or too low based off of the outcomes either as an athlete. So I'm excited to see how they respond, and this will be a very good test against a team, not only for the bounce back purposes, Jeff, but also how you stack up against one of the best teams in the league, because we've seen them beat the best teams in the league, and this is an opportunity to do so because the Atlanta Dream are playing outstanding basketball as of late.
Well, they have demonstrated that they can beat any team at any time. They just got to string it together now.
That is very true.
Just got to string it together now. All right, Mark, let's check it down for the last time before I skedaddle on vacation.
The Morning Checkdown on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
See, I thought you and James were going to jump all over me for using the word skedaddle.
No, for a second there, I was just making sure that you told people where you were going. Don't leave us with a cliffhanger.
Going away.
Yeah, I'm like, are you going to prison? Away. Are you going in the ground? Brother, you're living.
Why would you bring up prison?
Like, you're living life. Well, my mind is nefarious at all times. I still think Kevin Bowen's on the run.
No, I think if Evan Sherrill is probably crying right now because I have all this Korean beef. What am I going to do with it for the next 2 weeks now? What am I doing with it?
Cluster truck will be just fine.
It will be just fine.
You just heard Bria Goss a moment ago. The Indiana Fever will take center stage tonight, 7:30 at the Fieldhouse. They'll take on the Atlanta Dream at 7:30. They are one game under 500. They got a couple of games to play before the WNBA All-Star break, and they need to get it in gear, James.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the time to do it. You're running out of time, as Sophie Cunningham said yesterday, and a big test tonight against the Atlanta Dream.
All right. Meanwhile, Summer League basketball tipped off last night in Las Vegas, and an early game for the Indiana Fever, and they came from behind, 10 down with 2.5 minutes to go, 2:38 to go, and they win by 1 over Cleveland. That was fun, but it was fun, as we like to see in Summer League, just the individual players looking like they can play a little bit, and we saw a lot of that last night.
Yeah, shout out to Ray J. Dennis, big game. Quentin Jackson, big game. And also the rookie Talon Peter.
Yeah, and Enrique Freeman had 19.7 rebounds. You mentioned Ray J, 26. Quentin Jackson, 24. Johnny Furphy had 8 points in 9 minutes before he had to leave the game, got a little elbow to the head.
Yep, but he's fine, though. And I would imagine, barring any, just extra caution, he should be back out there tomorrow, that is, against the Thunder, in a finals rematch at 5:30 p.m. on NBA TV.
All right, and we'll look forward to that. Also, we can tell you in Major League Baseball, Cincinnati Reds shut out the Miami Marlins by a score of 6-0. St. Louis over the Washington Nationals 8-1. And Mark, your Cubs looked terrific. Colin Ray was good. Pete Crow Armstrong, 2 more home runs. They beat the Minnesota Twins by a score of 8-1.
Avoided the Brooms. That was a tough series, but they avoided the sweep, so that's good. Now a huge series against the New York Yankees. Probably the marquee matchup ahead of the All-Star break for the weekend.
Looking forward to seeing a little baseball this weekend there. If you want to see some baseball here in Indy tonight, you can see the Indianapolis Indians against the Gwinnett Stripers. Starts at 7:05 last night. Indians shut the Gwinnett Stripers out by a score of 3-0, and the Tribe have won 4 games in a row over there.
They're having a very good season.
All right. IndyCar comes your way not once, but twice this weekend, James, as you were pointing out. Saturday and Sunday in Iowa, tomorrow afternoon, 4:30. The airtime here at 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Sunday, The race starts at 1. You'll be able to hear that on WIBC 93.1 FM because we'll have another Fever game Sunday afternoon coming your way at 1 o'clock against the Wings there.
I will be covering that game. That'll be the first, ideally, barring any injuries or setbacks between now and then, the first matchup between Caitlin Clark and Paige Beckers, who were in the same high school class going into their college careers and are two of the biggest stars in the league today.
All right. Anything else going on you want to talk about? I know you had some Indy Colts discussion a little while ago on the Athletic. Anything to point people in the direction there?
No, just stay tuned. I will have a lot more Colts coverage coming up as we lead up to training camp. Was going over some things with my editor recently. So when we do get back out there for camp, it is going to be full throttle ahead with the Colts content.
All right. That's what's happening in the world of sports locally. In the meantime, I know you went and saw the Superman movie. You've been big on movies lately. Senator, Superman, you like both of them, right?
Yeah, and I'm not a big movie guy, to be honest with you. I just feel like ever since I was reminded that the IMAX is there, they usually play the best movies there, and I'm more willing to go experience it there if it is a good or bad movie. I went and saw, what's the other one? Thunderbolts. I think that was another
saw that one. That was
Marvel
good.
one. That was pretty good as well. And
What
these
about,
are all at
Jurassic
IMAX.
World?
Haven't seen that one yet, and again, I'm pretty much down. It's always easier too to do it when you're going to get one ticket. So Superman, for example, if I was trying to take somebody with me or I've had kids or something like that, it would be a little bit harder to get them all in the same spot. But I love being the one-man band sometimes.
Was it packed?
Yeah, it was. I went to the 4:15 showing yesterday, and then I rewatched the Pacers game after that. But, yeah, it was packed, and there was a lot of kids there as well to check it out.
All right. How about you, Mark? Anything recently or coming up?
We saw Jurassic World on Tuesday night. That was good. Girls, if James needs a recommendation, the Dykton girls will give that 6 thumbs up, I guess. They all have opposable thumbs. 6 thumbs up for that one.
Is the star of the movie the dinosaur or Scarlett Johansson?
Well, for the dinosaurs, for the girls, for me, Scarlett Johansson is a big plus, so I'm not going to hate on that whatsoever.
All right. That's what's happening here and now. Big movie show today here at 93.5. Movies, summertime is when we get to go see movies. We don't get to go do things during football and basketball season.
Yeah, we've knocked out a few movies, but there's still plenty on my list. I'm like, I would like to go see that. But we saw Lilo and Stitch this summer. We saw Jurassic World. So Superman is up there. I would like to see that. I think there's definitely a few more movies coming up that are worth my time in the summertime, so we'll have to get out there some more.
All right. As mentioned a moment ago, the Indiana Pacers are involved in Summer League. Rick Carlisle's had a few things to say on an upcoming podcast that we keep getting little bits and pieces released to us on. Alex Golden, of course, follows the Pacers very closely on his podcast, and we'll talk to him coming up next right here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Good Friday morning. I hope you're having a terrific start to your day. If you got to go and do the work and put the hours in, God bless you. We appreciate all that. Hopefully some of you are taking off after work on vacation later on today.
Yeah, some of you meaning you.
Everybody, this is the time of year to do it, right?
This is the time, brother.
This is the time of year to do it. It's also the time of year to talk a little Summer League basketball and also wrap up everything that just took place with the Indiana Pacers, one of our favorites here, Alex Golden. He of the podcast Setting the Pace, covers the Pacers as closely as anybody these days, and he joins us on this Friday morning on the Payless Liquors Hotline. Good morning, Alex. Have you had your summer break yet?
No, I haven't. And I will say, last week when I was on, I was greeted by a great Mark Dykton callback to the Cardinals losing to the Pirates, and I don't think there's any audio queued up today of what the Pacers or what the Cardinals did last night with an 8-1 victory.
We got fresh beef. Fresh beef.
I mean,
both of your teams were equal. They both won 8-1 last night.
I can play highlights if you want of them beating the 38-win Nationals, if that makes you want to puff off your chest a little bit.
Nah, stand on business, Alex. Stand on business.
I'm just saying, it's got to be equal playing ground here, Mark. Come on now.
I will find some highlights.
All right, Alex. While he digs through the archives to find something there, what were your thoughts on Summer League last night? It's kind of fun to have a little summertime distraction. I thought it went pretty well last night. What'd you think?
Yeah, it was a fun game. I mean, to be honest with you, when you go from Game 7 of the NBA Finals to Summer League basketball, it's kind of hard to get your hopes up for anything spectacular, but of course, the Pacers do what they do best and overcome a 16-point deficit there in the fourth quarter and pull out a 1-point victory. So at least gave you something to be really excited about there at the end. But, no, I thought a lot of their two-way guys from last year looked incredible in that game, especially Ray J. Dennis and Quentin Jackson. I thought they had spectacular games. So it was good to see those guys do well and just to kind of see this team play good basketball.
Well, to be honest, I think Quentin Jackson is a Hall of Famer, based off his performance yesterday and the way that he steps up. And in all seriousness, Alex, I think that he is someone who intrigues me because of how hard he plays, how athletic he is, his size, and his ability to score the basketball. So he's somebody that I'm keeping an eye on when it comes to potentially, cracking the rotation or forcing Rick's hand when it comes to trying to get a few minutes. Now, it is hard to break into that guard rotation, but overall, I think that he is someone to keep an eye on. What did you think of the other guards not named Ray J and Quentin, and one of them being Talon Peter, who stepped up, I thought, yesterday and had a pretty good showing in his quote-unquote NBA debut?
Yeah, I think Talon Peter, to me, like one thing that I would say for him was like his poise out there defensively. I was really impressed with that. Had some nice steals that led to some breakaway dunks that were key in their comeback. And he just didn't look rattled out there. I think offensively maybe passed up some open shots that he could have taken. But for the most part, I think Talon Peter played pretty well. I would say, Cam Jones was a little bit, rusty or whatever, 20 minutes, just 2 or 4 from the field. Like, had some nice moments, but nothing really stood out that much with him. But I thought Talon Peter was really good there in those big runs. I think he had the best plus-minus of anybody on the team as well. So, this is a guy that I think everybody likes the efficiency numbers and what he did in college, but just the way he plays so hard and how he was sturdy defensively really impressed me.
I will say this, Alex. I never had this experience in high school playing basketball where the coach yells at you to shoot more, because that's what I was doing basically at the TV when I'm looking at Taylor. And I'm like, wait a second, brother, you don't miss. You didn't miss in college. Yeah. I mean, you got to get some shots up. But I do agree with you. Defensively, he was impressive. And the last thing I'll ask you about when it comes to just his performance overall, how do you think his athleticism looked at this level? Because that's the part I think people have kind of maybe slept on. Yes, we know the shooting numbers, but the dude can really, move and get up the floor and actually jump as well.
Yeah, the dunk that he had in transition was awesome. It was so great to see. And even back in the first half, I really liked one of the backdoor cuts that he had that led to a wide open layup. He seems like a very fundamentally sound basketball player that just kind of gets the game and isn't going to try to overstep, which I think that's huge because a lot of guys are trying to prove themselves and want to go out there and be super scory and things like that. But no, he kind of plays basketball the right way, and his bounce is kind of that sneaky athleticism part of him that goes into the shooting. So obviously there's a lot of people that didn't have him on their radar in terms of like their top 100 big board and things like that. So I like the Pacers being a little bit risky risky for whatever you want to call it for the 54th pick, but I like them taking a swing on a guy like this because he does seem like he has some upside.
Talking to Alex Golden, Setting the Pace is the podcast. They talk exclusively about the Indiana Pacers. Johnny Furphy, everybody was building him up to be kind of the star of the team last night. He had to leave the game early because he got an elbow to the head. I think he's going to be okay. But Look, 8 points in 9 minutes. What'd you think of the short shift for him last night?
I love the way that he started the game. I mean, that hard drive to the basket where he got in there, like it was a very decisive move. I thought that was terrific by him. And then I think it might have been the next play down for the Pacers offensively, drives to the basket and kicks it out to Ray J. Dennis for a corner three. I'm like, if he can figure this kind of stuff out early on, I think he's going to be hard to keep out of the rotation. I talked with Dustin Dopiric on the podcast a couple days ago, and he said I think he's kind of going to be in that Jarris Walker spot this season as like that 11th guy in the rotation. But I don't know. I just think he's a good rebounder. His defense is better than I think a lot of people realize. Obviously, there were some not so great turnovers that he had, but I just think Johnny Purphy is a very fundamentally sound player, very young player as well. I think the future is really bright for him, and I thought in yesterday's game, like the way he started things off, I think he had some threes too. Like he's kind of got an all-around game. It's still developing for sure, but you have to be impressed with just the quick decision making and also like not being afraid to drive and kick it out, because that's something that we've asked from a lot of the Pacers guards. Like Ben Mathurin, that's been one of his big knocks. Like, can he be more of a passer? But I just love that Furphy on his second play drew the defense, kicked it out for a Ray J. Dennis three, and I think that's just great growth from him.
So as much as I love talking about Summer League, you know me, Alex, I love drama and pettiness more. And we have a little bit of that when it comes to Miles Turner spurning the Pacers and joining the Bucks. He finally broke his silence and released a statement via Instagram last night. In that statement, he was saying he never took the easy way out, and obviously he appreciates everything that 317 offered him in his 10 years. So what were your takeaways from his thoughts that he shared and just the overall departure?
Yeah, I think what was interesting to me was just how long it took him to kind of break that silence. You know what I mean? It was probably a good week since he said anything, and I think it was probably just a lot for him to process, because it's a big change for him. I mean, when you're in one spot for 10 years, it's going to be different going to a different team, especially division foe. So obviously the drama, I think the most interesting thing that I've been seeing from a lot of Pacer fans is the lack of Instagram likes from other Pacer players on his post and posts from the Pacers about him. So I don't know if there's any petty beef there, but, you know, you saw how much I have petty beef with Mark Dykman about not playing highlights. That's how much I love drama too, James. So I'm here for it. Anything that's going to add more fuel to the fire with this rivalry, I like it. But, yeah, I mean, I thought his post last night, I mean, you can tell Miles is very, very sentimental. We read his Players Tribune article. That was incredible. So there wasn't, like, too much more to add to that, but I still think it was just probably hard for him to process, like, everything, because it's such a big change after 10 years. But I thought he did a really good job of kind of explaining how he feels and everything. So at the end of the day, you know, I have no beef with Miles Turner. I just think that it's going to be interesting to see what happens with his career in Milwaukee, because I think it's going to be drastically different than what it was here.
So to counter that, or to follow up, Alex, and we've debated this on the show, whether Milwaukee was ingenious or insane to waive and stretch Lillard to get Miles Turner. But I think, in my opinion, the way I view this, Alex, is that they did that not necessarily for Miles Turner. Yes, he is now a Buck, but it was to try to keep Giannis happy. So if you were in Milwaukee's shoes, or, you know, devil's advocate, if years from now you're in a similar situation with Tyrese Halliburton, you're trying to keep him happy, would you do the same thing? Or is it just too crazy?
I think it's a little too much. I mean, to me, like with Giannis, like I'm like, no offense, but like, do you think waving and stretching Dame for Miles is really going to make Giannis that happy for that long? That seems kind of like a Band-Aid fix. No offense to Miles Turner, but when you look at the top three paid players on the Bucks this year, it's Giannis, it's Miles Turner, and it's that wave contract from Damian Lillard. And then the next one's Kyle Kuzma. So
you know how I feel about Kyle Kuzma. Not a big fan.
You didn't like that all-zero stat line that he had in the playoffs?
That was impressive.
He is not a serious basketball player, but I'll let you continue.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, how much are you really convincing Giannis by making Miles Turner your number two? We all respect Miles Turner here. We know what Miles Turner is capable of. But there was times when he was probably the fifth best starter for this Pacers team in the playoff run. So that's where I kind of get like, okay, like what exactly is Giannis going to do to elevate his game that Tyrese Halliburton didn't do? I understand they're totally different players, but I kind of wonder if Miles is going to have a similar type of career in Milwaukee, or if he's going to regress. I don't really see him having a drastic jump in his career. So the whole Damian Lillard thing, I know that there's a lot of Bucks fans that don't really care about it, because they're like, it's better to, you know, waive and stretch him and pay him $22 million for the next 5 years and have someone that can play in Miles this season. But I just think it's very short-sighted, and, you know, I would not have done it. I think it's absolutely crazy, especially since there was reports out there. I think Chris Haynes said that Dame wasn't even going to opt into his player option next year So now you've got an expiring contract you can potentially trade somewhere. Like, I'm sure there's teams out there like Washington or Brooklyn or whoever that would take on that contract just to get assets and back with it. So I don't know. I mean, Miles Turner was the best free agent on the board. I understand all of that, but I thought it was more asinine than anything.
Alex Golden joining us here on the Fan Morning Show. Alex, we've heard both Kevin Pritchard and Rick Carlisle talk about center by committee coming up this year. What does that look like, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit skeptical to see what Isaiah Jackson and James Wiseman can bring just because both are coming off Achilles tears. Jay Huff, I think they seem pretty excited about that pickup, and everybody that covered the Grizzlies or watched the Grizzlies last year had nothing but positive things to say about Jay Huff. So, he does have a skill set that I think fits. Rick Carlisle in that podcast interview that he was in said he's done the center by committee before, and he's ready to get the ball rolling with it. So they definitely have different types of players that bring different elements to the game. I think when all are healthy, Isaiah Jackson should be the projected starter, and then I think it's going to be more Wiseman and Huff battling there for that backup big spot. Wiseman's definitely got the size and he's got the raw talent that you're kind of hoping to maybe become something someday, but I don't really know exactly what to think because he's had so many injuries and he's not the same talent that maybe you thought you were getting at the number 2 overall pick when Golden State took him. But they liked him last year before he went down, and I know he's been working on a shot according to Kevin Pritchard as well. So just another element there. I don't see Tony Bradley playing too much of a factor in this center by rotation. I think early on he will as they're kind of monitoring the minutes of the guys that are dealing with those Achilles injuries. But his contract, I think it's guaranteed in January, so I'll be surprised if he's still on the roster in January just because I think 4 centers is a lot. And I think if Wiseman, Jackson, and Jay are all healthy, that's who they can go and just have that center rotation with that. So I'm excited to see what they can do, though.
Last one for me, Alex, when I was looking at the clip from Chris Long's Green Light podcast with Rick Carlisle, and he mentioned how they're going to move forward without Miles Turner, and he mentioned, I believe, paraphrasing here, something along the lines of, whoever we have at the 2, he said Andrew Nembhard by name, talking about the point guard position, and then he said whoever we have at 2. So that perked my eyebrows up a little bit, perked my ears up a little bit, because I was thinking, man, he didn't say Benedict Mathurin, so maybe I'm reading too much into it, but we do know this is a big year coming up for Benedict Mathurin. So how much pressure do you think is on him to sort of prove himself in a year where he'll have probably more opportunity than he would have had to have the ball in his hands to, make some plays and do things of that nature had Halliburton been healthy?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. And I did see people say that Mathurin liked the tweet of that clip that Carlisle said that. And then someone was saying, oh, he put a laughing emoji after that tweet came out. I'm like, okay, this is just getting too much sleuthing for me. I don't really know. I know Mathurin sees a lot of stuff on social media, but, Carlisle not saying it, maybe he just kind of was like, I don't want to commit to Mathurin starting because he wants to make him earn it. But who else are you going to start in that spot? Ben Shepherd. I don't know which way they're going to go. Are they going to go bigger with Jarris Walker? To me, it does make sense for Mathurin to start. Mathurin definitely gives you that on-ball score that you need. And it is a big year for Mathurin, and I'm hoping that he takes it seriously and really relishes in this opportunity to go out there and prove that he can be a guy because he wants to get paid. He's in that rookie contract year, like you said, ready for an extension. And restricted free agency has been kind of odd as of late just because there's not a lot of teams with cap space. But I think there's going to be more teams that probably have some available cap space next year. I know what the Wizards have done with their roster has created a ton of cap space. So we'll see what happens. I've been kind of monitoring this whole Mathurin situation too. I think that with Turner leaving, it does seem like there's more of a possibility he could return on a contract extension. But at the same time, like they just got to find the right fit. And if Mathurin really wants to be a sixth man when Halliburton does come back the next year, because I think that's the biggest question mark to me, is Mathurin going to accept not being a starter when Halliburton comes back? And that's going to be the question the Pacers have to answer, whether they look to move him at the deadline, move him in the offseason, or does he outplay Aaron Nesmith to become your starting 3? So a lot of storylines there with Mathurin, but I do think there's a lot of pressure on him as well to just fit in and play the right way, because if there's anything we know about Rick Carlisle, Mathurin might score 20 points in a game, but if he ain't playing the right way, Carlisle's not going to give him the opportunities unless he's doing, Pacer basketball like he likes to play. So, that's where Mathurin just kind of find that balance. But I think he'll be all right. I'm not too worried about it. Mathurin's a very, very talented player, and I think he knows what's in store for him. So that's to me is what I'm looking forward to seeing from him is just growth.
And Alex, I'm just glad that you follow the likes, reposts, and unfollows so I don't have to.
Hey, I don't have to follow it. There's so much on that Twitter feed from Pacer fans. I just pull up my Twitter, and it's all right there in front of me. I'm like, man, this is crazy. People are great, though. I love it. I love all the drama. It's fun to me.
I do want to make up to Alex, by the way. He's right. Last time we had him on, I played a Cubs highlight. All right, was it Cardinals low light? Is that what I would think it was Cardinals low light?
It was the Cardinals low light. They got swept by the Pirates and didn't score a run, and you played the whole thing for me.
Let me make that up for you right now.
Savage fires. Swing and a high fly ball. Will struck right field. That's back and it's gone. He's done it again. Pico Armstrong. His second of the day. And it is all Cubs here in Minneapolis.
The Cardinals suck, Alex. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Wow. What? I didn't hear any Cardinals. Wow. That's all I heard was Cub lowlights there.
Cardinals suck. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, my goodness.
All right. I believe that Alex and Mark just unfollowed one another right there is I think what just happened. Alex, thanks for stopping by, man. We appreciate it. Have a fun weekend. Watch some Summer League basketball. Take care of yourself and your youngster, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, Jeff. Thank you so much. Go Cardinals. Cubs suck.
There's your pettiness right there, James.
I didn't hit the dump button fast enough for that filth he just said on the air.
That is quite the way to end the call. And again, thanks to Alex for joining us on the Payless Liquors hotline. He gave us a lot of – I think Alex does a good job of giving us the media aspect of it, but also the fan aspect as well, because he is a diehard Pacers fan. And him, saying that he thinks it's, pretty crazy what the Milwaukee Bucks did to acquire Miles. I agree with him to a certain extent, but I'm also like, man, if Giannis is putting that pressure on you, what are you willing to do to keep him happy? And that's one thing the NBA does or has an element that's different than any other league, I think, when it comes to that star pressure. NBA players, if you're a guy, like if you're legitimately an all-time great and you're in your prime, you have, I think, more leverage with your team's decisions than any other sport. Football doesn't operate like that. But basketball, man, if Steph Curry says I'm unhappy, if LeBron, prior to becoming 40-year-old LeBron, but in his prime, if I'm unhappy, like these teams move heaven and earth often for you to try to be happy and stay with them. And we saw the Bucks do that. Will it pay off? I don't know, but I cannot wait until they match up in the regular season, especially for that first game back here for Miles' return.
Do we have John Halliburton hyping the crowd up right before that first game?
I would accept it honestly. If we had John Halliburton, doing the intros for Miles Turner, right. Oh my gosh, that would be hilarious.
I want him having a Turner, Pacers jersey. He's waving it at him and he throws it on the ground or something like that. I want the pettiness, James.
The WWE coming out and you right there.
I do.
All right. Coming up in a moment, we'll get you ready to go for your weekend in Indianapolis right here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
And that's going to wrap up a wonderful week for us here. It'll be nice to have Kevin back with you next week, and I know Mark's looking forward to that. I will be gone for the next couple of weeks, but I'll be back for most of training camp for the Indianapolis Colts. It's been a lot of fun. Also, reminder, go check out 1075thefan.com right now and find out how you can sign up for our golf tournament with the Franciscan Foundation August 7th at Legends Golf Club. Get ready now. We're all going to be there, going to hang out with you all day long. 1075thefan.com. That's where we're heading. James, any final words before I take off for a couple of weeks?
I'll be there in spirit when it comes to the golf outing because I will be in Baltimore for the Colts' preseason opener.
All right, it's going to be a lot of fun. Fever game tonight at 7:30, airtime 7:15 with Eddie Garrison. Have a great week.